to prove his claim that they and MPs have been soliciting bribes from ministers and other officials in the government to approve their reports and pass important bills. Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang, who is the chairman of the Senate Accounts Committee, eyed Senate Speaker Amason Kingi and his National Assembly counterpart Moses Wetangula to hold President Ruto and others who are accusing their members of corruption accountable.
I want to challenge the speakers of the two houses, because they are the ones who chair the Powers and Privileges committees pursuant to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. They need to issue a summons to the President, for the President to come and explain who are those people who are demanding bribes, who are those people who are given bribes. Because you cannot try Parliament in a kangaroo court when statute already has clear provisions for dealing with unethical conduct on the part of members of National Assembly or members of the Senate.
Furthermore, Kajwang and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna have slammed the President for criticizing the entire House without directly naming the individuals who are allegedly involved in the parliamentary bribery scandal.
The Speaker must defend his institution. He is the head of the House. Our leadership, the majority and minority leader, they should not go to those meetings to just make jokes about welfare. They should defend the institution and call out the hypocrites who are pointing fingers at Parliament, and yet we know they are the originators of corruption in this country.
Senator Ojwang has dismissed the idea of ODM leader Raila Odinga, who has called on the Senate to leave the responsibility of questioning governors to the county assemblies.
We are in no way taking away the power and the duty of the county assembly. The county assembly remains the primary overseer, the role of county assemblies. When it comes to integrated development plans, exclusive role of county assemblies. When it comes to expenditure, quarterly expenditure review, exclusive role of county assemblies. And so those who are saying governors and counties should appear before the county assembly are not wrong. They are only wrong to the extent that that should be the final point of oversight. There is secondary oversight that Parliament exercises, and we are doing that pursuant to the constitution we have, not the constitution that we wished we had.
And in the international scene, Mali's civilian ex-Prime Minister Kokala Maiga, dismissed in November after he criticized the junta, was charged yesterday with embezzlement of public funds and remanded in custody following a hearing before the country's Supreme Court. Plagued by jihadist and separatist violence, Mali has been led by the military since back-to-back coups in 2020 and 2021. Maiga is accused of embezzlement of public funds. His lawyer, Sheikh Omar Konare, told AFP, adding that no date has yet been set for his trial. Just a reminder is that our radio stations, that is Radio Maisha, Berur FM as well as SpiceFM, will be bringing to you live the EPL matches as they continue. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human, everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Good morning. Good morning. Wait. Sit properly. Push in the chair. Move all the movables. And then, watu wanaongea wakisema nini?
Good morning.
Good morning. Selfa is even here taking pictures. It's okay. Don't worry. Ni nini, Dennis?
Hakuna.
Okay.
Niko tu sawa.
Uko tu sawa? Mr. Okari, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
It's colder than cold.
Let me tell you, it is actually. Why am I hearing like this?
You can't hear me again?
No, come on.
I'm good.
Today
I was about to do that thing.
Which thing? That thing. You're about to do it?
Yeah. Like, hello.
You're about to do it.
Hello.
You're about to do it again? Salam alaikum.
Yeah, good. There's nothing as bad as it's extremely cold. Then you knock your knee on something.
Did you just knock your knee on something?
In the morning. Why do you think I've delayed?
Oh, that's the reason?
Yeah.
I am
it
so
hurt so badly.
I know. You want to swear all the swearables, but you know.
I didn't. I just said, Jesus.
Bless you. Bless you.
Bless my name.
Bless you. He saves. Worry not. All is well.
Anyway.
So this cold that you're feeling, there's always an explanation for everything. Sawa. So let me tell you what's going on. In a minute.
You want to explain why it's cold?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a minute. Now, what's wrong with me? Nothing. From tomorrow, August 22nd, which is
Thursday.
Tomorrow is 20th, right?
Today is 20. Today's 20th.
Today's 20th.
From Friday. From tomorrow, that is today, now this was yesterday, until August 22nd, which is Friday, the weather will be colder compared to last year. It is called the Alphelion phenomenon. All right, say Alphelion. Alphelion. Good class.
Yes, teacher.
Very good class. It will begin tomorrow morning, that is today, this morning, from between 5 and 7 a.m.
So we're already an hour, 14 minutes.
Inside the Alphelion phenomenon. Say Alphelion.
Alphelion phenomenon.
Very good. We will not only observe but also experience the effects of the Alphelion phenomenon. It will end on the 22nd of August. During this period, we might experience cold temperatures unlike any we have felt before, which can lead to body aches, knocking your leg on the table. You didn't say that, but sure you understand. Throat irritation, fever, cough, and respiratory issues. Therefore, it is advisable to strengthen your immune system with vitamins and other healthy food products. This is the time you load up on the oranges, lemon, and anything citrus, because they have a high dose of vitamin C. Very good class. The distance between the sun and the earth is about 90 million kilometers. All right. However, during the Alphelion phenomenon, say Alphelion phenomenon, the distance will increase to 152 million kilometers, which is a 66% increase. So you understand?
So
the warmth of the sun is now further from the earth. Now, on this side of the hemisphere where you experience naturally cooler temperatures at this time of the year, it gets even colder. And that means that in the western and the northern hemisphere, where it is the summertime, that's normally warmer, they will experience cooler summers and you will experience colder winters. Sawa?
Kabisa.
Don't say I never taught you anything.
Alphelion
phenomenon. Wait, hang on.
90 kilometers.
The sun now is 90 million kilometers away.
Now it's 150.
Normally 90 million.
90 million. Now 152 million.
Away.
66% increase of distance. Alphelion what?
Phenomenon.
Pesa imeenda, jua imeenda.
Kila kitu
imeenda.
Hapo kwa pesa unajua kuna mtu anasema hii 150 million kilometers haiwezi kuwa pesa.
Lakini haipana because it's away.
Uko. Hatutaki hiyo.
Hatutaki ile iko
hapa karibu.
Thanks very much.
It's okay.
Yeah? So usijali.
But we are going to experience this only
till Friday.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. Up to Friday.
So from today until Friday. You started to feel it, isn't it? When on Monday the rains came and then it was bitterly cold, and so now is when they're looking. You saw those things that the climate people were telling us yesterday about how
monitoring.
They can see and monitor. Now they have monitored
satellite and all that.
Alphelion amekuja. Yeah.
So how many times does it happen? Like Like 5 years, 10 years?
No, it's like Halley's Comet that you see after every 85 years. I don't know, things like that. I don't know if Alphelion is coming again next year, but we'll ask her when she's going.
So the phenomenon is called what again?
Alphelion phenomenon.
Na sasa jua ikikuwa karibu.
Sasa hiyo hatujui hell.
See, tutaungua.
Alpha.
No, if normally the sun is 90 kilometers away, normally. If the sun decides to do 45 million closer to the earth, we will all roast.
Yes, no.
Yes.
You must have seen this in a WhatsApp group somewhere. It's been making the rounds over the last couple of days about this phenomenon. So, you know.
My pop sent me this yesterday, and I thought it's one of those conspiracy theories.
No, this one is true. So I got it in a WhatsApp group, and I actually went and I did a little bit of research around it.
Interesting.
And it's not a lie. So. Okay, so now...
So in other words, you've actually done the weather.
Yeah.
So for the rest of us, just be knowing what the weather is like. So
the weather is, again, what?
Alphelion phenomenon. And good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Apart from that, I know it's gonna be a little bit chilly, maybe frosty for some people, but don't worry. The joy of the Lord is your strength, and you must have warmth in your hearts. Put a smile on your face. Everything's gonna be what? Irene. Ivy, yeah. Imagine I said Irene.
Yeah,
Ivy, good morning. Abbas, she has even waved with both hands. The world is good, and everything is great. So, as we're getting into the morning today, let's talk about a number of things that we'll be discussing today in the Situation Room. Everybody tuned in. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. And you know what we want to do today? We want to give some people airtime, courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. We'll give you 1,000 shillings each. 2 people between now and 7 o'clock. Tell us why you're listening to the Situation Room this morning. Knock on that door and tell us good morning. Say hi. Tune in where you're tuned in from. How you listen to the Situation Room. Even if you've never listened to the Situation Room before and you've tuned in this morning, let us know that as well. Selfa, who's working in the back end, will look at your messages on Facebook, and we'll give 2 people 1,000 shillings each of Safaricom airtime, thanks to Safaricom Home Fiber. Sawa. That's what we're going to do. And as we get into those conversations this morning, let me tell you what those will be. All right. So at 7 o'clock, we will have a conversation around health in the dock. The crisis around what is happening with health, it seems to be getting deeper and deeper with what we see of the closure of SHA offices, with what we are regional SHA offices around the country, and then before that, where we see that certain insurers are not able to give services, or rather accept payments other than cash when you're going into hospital. So that conversation that we are going to have comes up at 7 o'clock. And we'll be doing that this morning with Dr. Davji Atela, who is the Secretary General of the KMPDU, as well as Johannes Kitaka, who is the Chief Operating Officer with First Assurance Company. That conversation kicks off at 7 a.m. Right, then at 8 o'clock, guess who's back? Is tomorrow. He's coming back, and we've been told that many things are going to be happening. It's taking a bit of a political twist, but there is something stirring. The waters are stirring somewhere. Something is going on. And if you saw yesterday, the week before and the week before that, if you would imagine that, you know, the proclamations that are being made, and then what we saw take place in Parliament yesterday, as well as in the National Assembly, as well as the Senate, then something must tell you that something is rotten in the land of Denmark, because we can smell it from far. Then tomorrow, throw this all into, like I was saying before, throw a cat among the pigeons, and Rigathi Gachagua comes back from his 2-month sojourn to America. He returns. And so we're going to ask questions about, okay, so what does this actually mean? What's happening on the political landscape? Professor Mashari Monene is going to join us, also in the good company of Joseph Kamanya. We'll have that conversation at 8 o'clock. And then, finally, at 9 o'clock, did you know that there are people who have been on strike in Kiabu forever? And it's being said that it is the longest healthcare worker strike, not just in Kiambu, but around different parts of the country. The longest ever recorded in Kenya. Dr. Bill Morioki is the KMPDU Regional Secretary, Central Kenya. We're going to talk about health and labor rights and exactly what it does mean. It seems that health is taking a hit. There are issues here and there. We're going to be talking about some of those as we get into the conversation this morning. So thank you all for tuning in today. Don't forget, let us know where you're tuned in from, and it could be you that gets that 1,000 shillings airtime courtesy of Safaricom Home Fibre. We'll get into it this morning. Dennis Ndu and Dennis with you today in the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Karibu, everybody. And Mr. Aseto, you took us to Zambia. We're still there?
Yes, we're in Zambia. So let's look at Zambia's wildlife and nature. And Zambia has some of Africa's best safaris destination, such as the South Luangwa National Park, Kafue National Park, and Lower Zambezi National Park. It's known for the walking safari, first popularized in Zambia, especially in the continent, and it is rich in wildlife. We're talking about elephants, lions, leopards, buffaloes, hippos, and over 750 bird species. Okari, have you ever gone for bird watching?
No, not really.
No?
Bird watching?
Yeah.
I've been in a place where I was watching and then birds flew. I don't know. Characterized.
So you're being told if you want to see 750 species, where do you go to? You go to Zambia.
Right.
Yes. So, and our proverb today: a small tick can cause a great sickness. A small tick can cause great sickness.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just takes a little bit to cause a bigger problem. And I remember watching a movie where a gentleman just felt a little something on his shoulder, and every now and then he would scratch it. Wasn't really sure what it was, and then he would get some relief by scratching it. It would scab, and he would pick off the scab, and he would go on. And then this continued for some time, and then little by little, it grew and it festered and it grew into this huge thing. And then he found out later that he had a cancer. But it started from a little thing. Didn't take care of it, just kind of played with it a little bit. And isn't it that he slept on it, really, literally. And that's it. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty will creep upon you, kind of thing. It's in the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see something that starts off really small and you don't pay attention to it. You toss it about the way like a cat would play with a piece of yarn. You don't pay any attention to it. It grows into something big, and I guess it could be good or bad. Even small things that start, and you who are not giving it any attention, it'll grow into something big.
True.
Or if you give it too much attention, it'll also go into something big. I guess we just need to watch. Take a small thing, but
small
it can
thing
affect. I've seen what it's done to a dog. Yeah, you have to be careful, I guess.
Interesting. What does the tick do? It sucks blood, yeah?
Yes, it is.
And what is blood?
Life.
Blood is life. So my interpretation would be just looking around us and looking inwardly. Anything that sucks the life out of you, anything that chokes your flow, anything that stops you from progressing. It could be relationships, it could be friendships, it could be colleagues, it could be anything or anyone around you that is blurring that vision, stopping you from going. And it could be something very, very small. It could be something that offends you, and you might ignore it. Or if it is that small bump on your road, if you don't deal with that bump, then you'll end up like what Ndo was saying. It's that small. You ignore it, then in the end you will suffer.
Yeah, so small things, if ignored, cause great harm. And I would just as well just compare it with what we see every day. I meet the police officer, 50 bob, and it's it's been normalized, it's 50 bob. But when you look at now the grand scheme of things on how corruption has been normalized by the wananchi, by the society, and you look at now the billions of shillings that we keep losing in critical sectors, education, talk about healthcare, and starts from that 50 shillings. People are paying 200 bob to get services that would as well cause so much more, so small things not addressed cause great harm.
Absolutely.
They also say habits, how habits start. You start with something small, then tomorrow you repeat it again, the day after, then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And in a short time, then find it difficult to deal with it.
Yeah, because ilianza kama chai, nowadays it's a buffet, self-service.
All right. So those are the things that we're looking into this morning, and let's look into saying hello to you guys as you tuned in this morning. Karibu sana, and good to have you in the room as you then do talk to us this morning. Our live streams, again, just a reminder, YouTube, Facebook, and on X, audience on KTN also here. And as we get into the things this morning, just saying a big good morning to you and thank you for always getting in, no matter how cold it is. We keep it moving regardless. Sawa sawa. Very good morning to you. Peter Kiarie tuned in from Mombasa. When situations favor you, don't think other people aren't serious with life. Stay humble. Indeed. Agutu Ogembo says good morning, tuned in. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa. Very cold in Rongo. Georgia Dimo, good morning to you. Salam alaikum nyote. Alaikum salam R. Good morning to you. And General Isa Mathenge tuned in from Mukunda. Good morning. Isa Kale says D&D. Good morning. The crew with brains in bloom. I'm glad to rise up this morning for the Situation Room. Allah. You're rhyming. Rogers Nyange says good morning from Voi. Chris Mora says good morning. Eric Kalindi tuned in, people. Another day to thank God and dissect the political confusion of this great nation. Alphelion phenomenon. Cold isn't worth for single people. Cindy. Okay, sour. Either way, guys, it is definitely colder than it was a couple of days ago. Rest in peace, the teacher from CI who committed suicide because of love. Well, okay. Monica Oile says good morning. Happy hump day. Yes, it is. We're getting over the week and into the end of it. Duke says good morning. Ready to see the executive and parliament fallout. I think we're seeing the beginnings of it, but we'll continue keeping an eye on all of that. Mohammed Noor is tuned in and says, here in Gwangju, we are doing great and it's raining heavily. Is monsoon season over? Ongani Malala says good morning, religiously tuned in. Indeed, thank you so much. Let's hear that spicy news, says Jared Dolan, tuned in from Arkansas. Leo says good morning, Princess Ndu and the Dennises. Today is my birthday. Leo, you're here every morning. And I just have this one we must sing.
There's one more, combine it.
With who?
Joylene.
Joylene's birthday. So Joylene, I did not forget because my memory is here. I did not forget. I have very, very happy birthday to you. And happy birthday to you, Leo. Do we do a combination song this morning?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Joylene. Hey. Happy birthday to you. And happy birthday, Leo. Happy birthday, Leo. Happy birthday, dear Leo. Happy birthday to you. Hey. Happy birthday, guys. Always tuned in. Lovely to...
Kata keki tukule sasa. Hiyo ni keki siyo ugali. Hiyo ni keki siyo ugali.
Happy birthday, guys. Always good to have you every morning. Thank you so much for what you do. It's always a great day when MPs are throwing 2-year-old tantrums when they're thrown under the bus. It's a big bus and it's a big tantrum that's being thrown, that's for sure. Jimmy Munothi says, good morning, Ndu, Dennis, and Dennis. Have a lovely show. Thank you so much. It takes a thief to catch a thief, isn't it? I remember the movie Catch Me If You Can. This guy had stolen for I don't know how long. And the guy said, you know what? In order for us to find out what's happening with these other folks, we need to hire him. Because who better to catch a thief than one who is one and thinks like one? I'm just saying I watched a movie.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sawa.
Okay.
All right. Jennifer Atenu says, good morning, tuned in, and it is another day to be grateful. Indeed, it is. Eric Awara says, good morning, guys. Jimmy Munothi tuned in. Wonderful Wednesday. And Bwangi Juma is also here tuned in and says, how is everybody? And then you say you are what?
Salam sana.
Very good. Dr. Venvik tuned in from Tudor. Tibbs Muge says, good morning, SpiceFM. The simulcast continues. Yes, it does. Mbaga Joshua says, good morning. Friend of a rich man is not a rich man, but a friend of a thief is a thief. Why? All right. Okay. Jimmy says that the Alphelion, I believe I'm so over that phenomenon, but okay. Says it happened. It's another cause. Sindio, Peter Guitar says, good morning. Popcorn. Yeah, you're going to need your popcorn. It's going to be a long movie, this one that we're getting into. Yes, it's circulating everywhere. Christina A, good morning to you. Young Jedi is tuned in from a chilly thicker and says, another beautiful day for wit, laughter, and insightful conversations. The things we learn on this show, it could be considered a masterclass. Asante Sana, Young Jedi, for tuning in every morning. Stanley Ngashe tuned in. Good morning to you. Sokoine Olepunda says, good morning. Salams, Double D and Ndu. The son was impeached from Narok. Okay. Tiny Village, good morning to you. Young Jedi into another life was a teacher can beat somebody. Anyway, Ken Kadai says good morning. Thanks for the weather update, because where it's weathering, it is indeed quite cold. And if anything, keep warm. But just me as Ndu personally, I like the cold. Tibbs Mugai, we see you. Good morning. Peter Wanjala, good morning. You say he who steals a shilling can steal a cow. Sindio, Sao Paulo, Brazil is where you're tuned in from. Silas Akala, good morning to you. Mutuflani, good morning. See Philomena. Apana. Ati Alfayo na Philomena wamefanya nini tena? Okay, so Michelle says good morning. Jeshia Spice, good morning to you. Patrick Mutunda says good morning. Mutinda, I beg your pardon, is also wishing you happy birthday, Leo. Duke says Ruto went to kids and promised a chapati machine. What's the difference between him and the head boy who promised a 4-day weekend? Who is that? Okay, people should be warned of taking extra hot tea. By the way, that's a thing. Esophageal cancer is linked to taking extremely hot tea. So just don't go too crazy. Nasir Ansar says good morning. The Alphelion is the Ferifleon. Oh, okay, sawa. You know what, Leo? It's your birthday, so you never know what Selfa might do. D&D birthday, I'm home, fiber expander, use bronze, we see. Akio Officine and a Cheki live show, Thomas Omosa. Good morning, everybody. Karibu Sana, and thank you for being in the room this morning as we get into it. That's what we do here in the Situation Room. And let's look into the headlines at this point and see the stories that are making the news. I will start. Guess where I'll start? Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. And there's a picture there of the president and Raila Odinga. Log in their eyes is the headline. Ruto's tirade against MPs has been branded sheer hypocrisy. The executive's rot dwarfs the spec in Parliament. From dodgy tenders at KEMSA to substandard fertilizer crippling farmers to hush-hush oil import deals, the scandals trail his administration like a shadow. Even his allies' handouts at churches and stadiums cloaked as generosity reek of patronage politics. For many Kenyans, the president has squandered the chance to make corruption a high-risk venture as promised. Instead, his finger-pointing has exposed a government gorging on the vice it condemns. And all this time being urged on by his bosom friend, Raila Odinga. Where? So Parliament was interesting yesterday to watch, I must say, because speaker after speaker, or not speaker, but speaker, see, you understand?
Speakers, yes.
Was just saying, come on, tell us. You seem to have the information. Tell us who it is. Until Millie Odhiambo sang a song. It's going to be interesting the next couple of days, I reckon. We'll see what happens.
Have you watched House of Cards?
Yes.
We're having our own very Kenyan
House
version.
of Cards moment. Yes. It's going to be very interesting. 1,000 days in politics is like a day.
True.
And a day in politics is like 1,000.
True.
And by the end of today, you never know what is going to happen.
Things change very quickly.
Good Lord.
Now, somebody said, usiweke siasa kwa nini?
Kwa roho.
Yeah, pumua, weka kwa lungs, pumua iende.
So here you are, Saturday night. You were romancing the stone.
Yeah.
And you thought that everything was okay. Then you start the week, you say, hii tuko nayo, we have got it. And then, Gafla Binvu, Tuesday. There's the duck and there's you, and you are there together. But anyway, we wait and see. Heartbreak for stranded families as state freezes overseas treatment. It doesn't stop. We saw Shah regional offices close yesterday. Now stranded families in the outside are being told that if you're banking on using your Shah while you're there,
shock on you.
Yeah.
No. Shakani.
Shakani, my G. Smooth, eh?
Yes.
I don't even know what to do with you, but okay. Caught someone's pathologist over Mwadhi inquest. You remember Jeff Mwadhi? There's an inquest that's currently going on and into the cause of death. Kindiki navigates Jinx DP slot as running mate debate emerges. People are already asking questions about who the running mate will be for AZ, an incumbent already. Do we call him that? President William Ruto?
There's nothing as bad when people discuss your position and you are there.
You're there. It's like, hello,
like
guys.
you're not in the room.
Can you see
Like,
me?
guys, I'm here. But
like-
people are discussing who, what's going to happen, your seat,
what you up to.
It's like the movie Ghost. Bruce Willis is in the room. Bruce Willis is there, and his wife, his widow, is having a conversation with his best friend, and he's like, "Excuse me,
Guys,
I'm here."
I'm here.
Murugara, I beg your pardon, dares Ruto to name MPs in 10 million shilling bribery allegations, as did everybody yesterday. Tell us who it is. From members of parliament in constituencies I did not know existed yesterday, to others, Runyenjes, others in an constituency called Mgwen. Did you know?
Yes.
You knew? Okay. He was also speaking and said, I am young, but now I'm old. Tell us, this money that you're saying, who took it? Otiende Amolo, tell us who took this money. Tell us. Carol Omondi, tell us. You say that somebody has been bribed. Who was bribed? Who bribed? And where did this money come from? We want to know. We already stained Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader. Everybody was up in arms. Oh, look at the details of that story. The Senate also were meeting, and they said, you know what? No long story. Summon Ruto here to table evidence on graft. If you're not going to do it,
shut up.
While you thought it was safe to get out of the water, an audit query has found that KPLC, who they say is not making profits, has an expenditure of, are you ready? 49.2 billion shillings. Now, what happened?
That's expenditure.
Expenditure.
Yeah.
Kenya iko pesa.
What a shock. What a shock. Weak oversight cost delays sink billions in donor funds, and inside trouble career of slain ex-CIA clerk. That's some of the things that we are looking into. That's all just in the Standard. We've not even gone to others.
Yeah. So let's go to Daily Nation. And you see that story that you just wrote on bribery?
Yeah.
Now, there is a crisis. And it's in bits. Crackdown. President forms multi-agency team on war against corruption. And MPs are doing what? They are busy sabotaging that. Furious MPs cripple House business and paralyze committees in show of defiance. President, I will come for you, MPs. You will see. Backlash. Lawmakers threaten speakers with no confidence votes to force them to act. So members of parliament want the speakers to act and respond to what the president said. And prosecution rising calls for the president to submit evidence to charge rogue MPs. These are as well stipulated members of parliament asking the president to name them and ensure that prosecution takes place. And retaliation, MPs vow to exercise their power on what again? Budget cuts to hit back at executives. So you see the development expenditure that goes to parliament, to State House, MPs wanasema tutakata that renovation that happens at State House itakwama for a while.
Because we have to pay attention to these things. Pesa
inapotea.
They have started.
Yes. You want to buy new cars, tumia yenye uko nayo. So it can move.
Sorry.
Yeah. DCJ Mwilu cleared of misconduct charge in Gachagua Oster. So Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu has been accused of usurping powers reserved for the CJ in assigning judges to hear the case, challenging the impeachment of the then Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. But JSC says there was no misconduct that was committed by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. And today is a big day for Kericho Governor, right? And 10 months after the Senate abruptly terminated impeachment proceedings against him on technicality, Kericho
Governor Eric Mutai will again face senators today when graft charges brought against him by the county assembly are read out to the House. Kericho MCAs for the second time voted to impeach the county boss on August 15th. When you just read that, this case was actually thrown out because of a technicality, not because there was no evidence. So this time round, if all the technicalities are not there, does it mean he's going out? But si tutajua leo.
Yeah, lakini unajua si watu walikuwa wanabraibiwa.
I know.
Na hiki tunaenda kwa Senate. So we don't want stories.
Ndio tunasemanga watu walilambishwa. So also when you talk about So when we talk about healthcare in the country, payers or we will down tools, health unions one state. That is a picture of KMPD Secretary General Davji Atel and other union officials. I would say Kenya health workers is once again on the verge of paralysis with the unresolved disputes over delayed salaries and the stalled implementation of the universal health coverage scheme, threatening to disrupt services nationwide. Okari.
You know, I've been going through all the newspapers because me, I love drama.
Of course.
I know. We know.
So I'm just trying to locate anything to do with Parliament after what the President said the other day to see, okay, so how's business? What was going on? Before I go to the Star, the Business Daily, MPs shoot down Ruto Mbadi order on exclusive tendering via portal. So, you know, Parliament has shot down a circular that was issued by the National Treasury requiring mandatory use of the Electronic Government Procurement System, EGPS, by all public entities on the grounds that it contravenes the Constitution. I just love how this script is
falling into place, yeah?
So, the Treasury, on July 23rd, 2025, issued a circular stating that only, and in brackets, existing contracts duly reported to Public Procurement Regulatory Authority will be approved for payment. Now, Treasury issued the circular following complaints by entities that they were facing challenges using the system. So now, Jana, the National Assembly last evening unanimously backed the findings of the Committee on Delegated Legislation and annulled it in its entirety by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority circular. The MPs threw out the circular only after it had been seconded by the leader of the minority in the National Assembly, Junet Mohammed. The committee, chaired by Ainapkoi MP Samuel Chepkonga, said the circular requiring all public procuring entities to use the EGPS attempts to evade House approvals. Therefore, contravene Section 77 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. Kazi imeanza kufanyika. I tell you. We go to the Star headline, MPs rebel as big bribery scandal threatens to sink Parliament. Still on that front page, there's a picture of Ruto and President Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto receiving a bouquet of flowers in Yokohama, Japan, and looking on his Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Ruto to join 40 African leaders at TICAD 9 in Yokohama. Then heavy rains. Weatherman warns farmers not to plant yet. So in Njeri, farmers have been advised msiende kupanda because the current rains are inadequate. The rains falling in several parts of the country since Saturday are short-lived and therefore not ideal for planting. That is in Njeri. And then we go to the inside pages. MPs rebel as big money bribery claims threaten credibility of Parliament. So to demonstrate his seriousness, the head of state yesterday announced the creation of a powerful multi-agency team that will spearhead the war against corruption, economic crimes, and related offenses. He's not relenting on this thing. He's not. And if a team has been formed, although as part of the script, you know, there are too many committees, subcommittees, some special, whatever. There are just too many. Right now in the country, you don't know how to keep track on what's going on.
Including constitutional bodies meant to deal with these matters.
Yeah, but in the story, the fallout could also turn into a political nightmare for Ruto, as some MPs could reconsider their political backing at a time the president's popularity is believed to have suffered a major beating. Okay, ODM could seal Sifuna's fate within the next 2 months. ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna faces an uncertain future as the opposition outfit plans a national delegates conference in October to overhaul the national leadership. Now, the looming elections could give the Orange Party a chance to get rid of officials opposed to the party's new arrangement with President William Ruto's ruling UDA. There has been mounting disquiet in the party over Sifuna's increasingly combative stance, especially in his opposition to the broad-based government. So already calls for resignation of the Nairobi senator are getting louder following his snub of the Joint Parliamentary Group meeting on Monday. Donor projects at stake as state fails to disburse 18 billion funding. This is according to Auditor General Nancy Gadongo, who has singled out 20 projects that faced severe challenges relating to government funding. And the reason is the government is failing to honor its required counterpart funding. New law will reduce governors' MCA's conflicts, according to Meru Senator. MPs reject proposed bill tightening power handover procedure. This again is in Parliament. There is already, we're talking about the storm in Parliament. So we looked at what was coming from Treasury. The MP said it's not constitutional. Now, a House team has shot down a proposed law which was aimed at streamlining the transition of power following the election of a new president. So the National Assembly Security Committee has recommended that the assumption of the office of the President and Transition of Executive Authority Bill 2025 be rejected in its entirety.
What?
Kimeumana.
Nabado.
It has beaten itself.
While that storm in a teacup is happening, there's a bigger storm, and it's outside based on what's happening in here. Heartbreak for stranded families as state freezes overseas treatment. A 5-year-old with a heart disease was all set for a life-saving flight to India. The air tickets were ready, but out of the blue, the Ministry of Health suspended overseas medical travel support. So usually you could actually travel and use your SHA accreditation to get treatment. Now, the boy's inconsolable family cannot understand the insensitivity of the government. A donor had committed to pay 1.9 million shillings, whereas the Social Health Authority, otherwise known as SHA, was to foot the overseas treatment charges capped at 500,000 shillings. Now, the donor has since withdrawn funding to redirecting it to other patients, leaving the Pipeline Estate family in despair. My son was scheduled to travel for surgery, but we cannot travel, the boy's mother, Lillian Nganga, told the Standard, unable to share more details amid sobbing. The suspension, SHA officials said, is meant to allow the vetting of health facilities outside the country. But patients and families advocates have described the last week move as painful and life-threatening. This is painful, uncalled for, and of much hurt to the patient community, said Evans Majau, founder of Kenya Mended Hearts, a patient support organization for children with heart defects. I pleaded with the donor to hold on unsuccessfully. This is so insensitive. The patient and family remain helpless. I can do nothing much to save the child. Many families had completed their required processes, including document authentication and pre-authorizations from SHA. Some patients had already flown out. My surgery is yet to happen. I'm just going through organ donor tests since we came. This is according to another patient from a hospital bed in India. The patient did not want to be named, left Kenya last month with the assurance of undergoing a smooth procedure. They traveled after presenting all documents to SHA and left with an assurance that the General Overseer program would be issued after 2 days. So, at a glance, this is what we are looking at. 16,664 is the total number of registered facilities in Kenya. 2,304 is the number of critical care beds in the country, of which 779 are in public hospitals. 10,102 is the current licensed doctors, 2,051 doctors working abroad. October 1st, 2024 is when SHA officially rolled out NHIF being repealed. But now, unfortunately, we're seeing many things happening in rapid succession. The day before that, we saw that SHA regional offices being closed, so you can't actually, unfortunately, attend one. And this, although this announcement or this story makes it into the Standard today, there was an announcement last week that, we're not going to see SHA payments then being rolled out for patients who are abroad at the moment, and we're going to bank on their SHA to have that done. We also see that in some cases, even when you're being asked to pay a year up front in terms of registration, that you're still having to pay in cash when you go to certain hospitals. It just seems that there's too much going on at the same time. And of the things that are not happening is that healthcare is not being delivered in the manner in which it was, or it should, you know. And it's more than just because you don't have enough people in the pool.
I mean, if you look at SHA as a system and how it's working, the offices being closed right now are those who are outside the country are not being able to access healthcare. Because I'll give you a story of my friend back, I think around 5 years now. He traveled to India to seek medical assistance, and NHIF paid for that because they're going for a bone marrow transplant. And everything went successfully. Unfortunately, he passed on. But NHIF covered that. So I imagine Kenyans who've traveled with the hope that SHA would cover that, and only for you to find out that it will not do that. Yet you're going through the processes, you're going through the required tests. There is a donor who's willing to give you the organ, but then again, because of the delays, they choose to just move on with their lives because people will not sit there waiting for you. But then again, you look at SHA. Is the government afraid to admit that SHA is just not working?
Yes.
Why? If it's not working, it's not working. Find a solution and come up with something that will work, that will serve Kenyans as expected. Because hiding your head under the rug and assuming that this will just go away will not work. Kenyans will keep insisting that they want a service that works for them and gives them the healthcare that you promised to give them.
I just wonder why it's not able to get wrap heads around this thing and actually have it work. And unfortunately, it gives rise to the thing that people have been saying. Well, at least under NHIF, you'd be able to go to the hospital and get something done. What has changed significantly so that now we see so many complaints across board?
You know, the issue here is, and I honestly feel for the CEO, Mungai. I mean, you're called in to do a job. And she did a fantastic job during COVID.
Yes.
And, you know, coming on board, you tend to think, okay, fine. You know, leadership starts from the top. And these issues are going to be fixed. And given that CS Dwale, to some degree, people saying he's really, really tried. Remember when Mutahi Kagwe was the CS?
Yes.
And he had a very difficult time because the health ministry, and these are conversations that you will hear from people. If you compare, I mean, all ministries, there's this corruption. But if you look at the health ministry and the so-called mafia house and the cartels that will even fight a CS, it's difficult to push certain things. And because it's such a sensitive ministry, you're talking about people's health. The issue of SHA, I mean, I don't know how many times we can discuss SHA. The context of this, I mean, abruptly suspending overseas medical travel support. People are sick every day. People require medical attention every day. You just don't wake up and decide you're shut. It's not like a computer. You decide to press the button and shut down. You just it's the system works in a way that there is somebody who is trying to log in. My takeaway is this. You know, jipange tu na pesa yako. At this point, it's going to be very, very expensive. And if you then are waiting to depend on SHA to make any form of payments, whether locally or even abroad, it's actually gambling. At this stage, is taking a gamble that it's either going to work, like in your case. So there are cases, even for me, I've had some of those cases. I mean, truth be told, in some instances it works. In others, it doesn't. The problem is you can't then explain when it does, why did it work? When it doesn't, why didn't it work? That's the problem. So you're taking a gamble here. Out of the three of us, nipata pote. It could be you, it could be me, it could be you.
Like, actually, when you sit down in a room with three people, it is rare to find that everybody used SHA and it worked for them. And as you say, jipange na pesa yako. Imagine tayari mtu ameshajipanga na SHA, already paid up. So inabidi ujipange mara mbili.
And you know there are records to these things.
There are records to
if you're looking at so you suspend overseas treatment abruptly. Question is, why was it even implemented? Because you look at the implementation again, it was also abrupt. So you're implementing this without a transition plan. And that's the issue. There's so many things going on, moving parts, and there is no plan. You know, it's like taking a car to a mechanic. If you take your car to the mechanic, you want servicing, you want change of brakes, you want whatever. You talk to the person and you're like, okay, I'm nataka service. So you need an oil filter, you need new brake pads, you need new plugs, you need this. Then you go through how much is it, what is the labor cost and everything. And you will notice by the time you're buying those things, they've opened up your bonnet. There is a system, there is a way they work. True. Go underneath, open the oil, whatever.
Filters and whatever.
Yes. So there is a plan on how you are doing it. Now, when it comes to creating a system and implementing a system, you must then have a transitional plan. How is the rollout? How many patients, and in this case, have been stranded? Do we even know how many patients are stranded? And what emergency mechanisms then are in place? Because you have people who have life-threatening conditions. And do we have records?
Yeah.
We don't have, there's no data that will explain this at the moment, and people end up dying, unfortunately.
You know, one would argue that when he talks about the transition plan from NHIF to SHA, there was really none. We just woke up one day and NHIF was kaput, gone. But then again, you look at even the implementation matrix that followed after that, and one would say the government just beat more than it could chew. Hence the reason why we find ourselves in this position. And I think the best thing that the government would do is fix it or admit imewashinda, go back to NHIF because it was working, and fix the bottlenecks that was there in NHIF.
Yeah. Like you're in a house and then you're walking away, you switch off the lights. You can't do that to a system like this. These are lives you're talking about.
Okay. Yep. It is. It's looking into a conversation that we'll have around about 7 o'clock as well. In a minute and a half, share another story.
Yes, so protest victims who the president promised that would be compensated. Now, victims and families affected by the Gen Z-led demonstrations have issued tough conditions. The task force appointed by President William Ruto to develop a framework for compensating them. Speaking in Nairobi, they said they would only accept compensation if those responsible for the killings and injuries are prosecuted. Ms. Gillian Munyao, the mother of Rex Masai, who was killed during the anti-finance bill protest in 2024, said compensation is only one of the 5 demands, urging President Ruto to also deliver justice. So fine, compensation we welcome, but before you compensate us, ensure that we get justice. And those are just some of the conditions that the families are saying. We don't just want the money, we want justice for our children, for our kids who are felled by the bullet.
It's a tough one in terms of how they're going to develop that. Or how it's going to actually work with the compensation. I mean, we'll have to see how that goes. We're getting quickly to the top of the hour, but we're going to look into what could be this scandal that they're saying. And some of these details as we go through the morning. It's a situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll get into that health conversation at 7 o'clock and look into some of those matters. As we get to the top of the hour, we had told you before, let us know where you're tuned in from, what it is that you're doing. Send us a message on Facebook. Courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber, you get 1,000 shillings talk time to then be able to have those conversations. And that airtime this morning at this point going to Humphrey Asuma Nyanaro. Good morning. The Situation Room keeps me in touch with country and world updates. Also, it's one of my best shows since the Daily Proverbs. It's a daily IQ test, and I will still love it. And also, Patrick Nzomo, I listen to the Situation Room because it's a one-stop shop for real, unfiltered conversations about the issues that truly matter to Kenyans. Selfa's going to get in touch with you guys. Congratulations, 1,000 shillings. Safaricom airtime courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. We'll get into the next hour where some more airtime up for grabs. Don't go away. It's 7 a.m.
Amla Ubaga. Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has accused some politicians in the county of instigating the ongoing nurses strike. She says that the Kenya National Union of Nurses and Midwives leaders are collaborating with politicians to disrupt the talks. Ndeti has also ordered the immediate recruitment of 500 nurses in order to improve the health sector in the region. Meanwhile, Ndeti has urged, the Ethics and the Anti-Corruption Commission says it has launched investigations into members of parliament accused of demanding bribes. This coming after President William Ruto accused lawmakers of turning parliament into a marketplace for extortion. Chairperson David Oginde said the commission is already tracking several MPs implicated, warning that no one will be spared once evidence is gathered.
We would like to find out, are there specific individuals who are particularly engaged in this, and what can be done, not just to punish the current one, but to stop the whole process completely, so that those people who may have been hiding behind politics, behind patronage, would then have nowhere to hide when we go for them.
The probe spans allegations ranging from bribery to influence legislation, inflated allowances, misuse of constituency development funds, and claims that senior officials are coerced into paying protection fees.
We are actually doing active investigations on various individuals, and as and when that kind of information is available, we'll share with members of the public, or you will see the consequences in the various levels of the legal system. Inflated allowances, payments by various individuals who want themselves to be protected.
Civil society organizations have also weighed in, urging the president to substantiate his remarks by presenting evidence to investigative agencies.
So if he has evidence, we hope that he has already provided it to the investigating authorities. If he hasn't, we expect that he will provide that evidence so that thorough investigations can be made.
And elsewhere, President William Ruto has established a multi-agency team on the war against corruption, a high-level task force aimed at unifying government efforts to combat graft, economic crimes and financial misconduct. In a presidential proclamation, Ruto affirmed his administration's commitment to reinforcing a whole-of-government approach to corruption, reiterating that coordinated action will lead to more efficient and impactful interventions. The newly formed MART, established under the State Department for Justice, includes representatives from key agencies such as the Executive Office of the President Chair, Office of the Attorney General Secretary, NIS, EACC, ODPP, DCI, ARA, Financing Reporting Center, CBK, KRA, and Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has cautioned Democracy for Citizen Party leader Rigathi Gachagua against disrupting peace in Nairobi tomorrow when he is expected back from the United States. Murkomen, who says security agencies are on high alert, has warned that the former deputy president could be arrested, citing intelligence reports indicating planned chaos on the day of his return. This event comes as the stage appears set for a political showdown.
Propagandists want to project that maybe Central Province and Murang'a, Njeri are some of the worst hit counties when it comes to alcohol abuse and distribution of alcohol. I must say that that's not true. In fact, except Kiambu.
My apologies for that soundbite. And moving on is that KMPDU has accused insurance companies of defrauding Kenyans of payments they do not make. Union Secretary General Davji Atela says there is a business partnership among insurance companies that is now hampering the health sector. The accusations come amid a dispute between Nairobi Hospital and 8 insurance companies following the hospital's move to increase fees for various services.
The biggest impediment to universal healthcare in this country are private insurance companies that have decided to get themselves into cocoon and dictate to the patients which hospitals to visit. They dictate to patients which doctors to see. They dictate to patients which lab tests to have. And they dictate to patients which drugs to be issued. And this was well demonstrated in what they did in Nairobi Hospital, where for the first time, We have seen insurance companies telling patients, don't go to this hospital.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaka.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust.
For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, at 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and getting into Wednesday. And at this hour, we get into yet another one. Remember that we want to give you 1,000 shillings airtime. Two of you. Tell us, what need would you be filling if you then accessed Safaricom Home Fiber? We can hear your need, but then Dennis is also telling you what it can do.
Well, this August, get a Safaricom Home Fiber internet connection and enjoy up to double the speeds at 25% discount on any of these following plans: bronze, silver, gold, and diamond plans. Now, the welcome package includes a free router and zero installation fee. Stay connected with reliable, fast home internet, whether it's gaming, streaming movies and music, online working, or high-speed web browsing. All you need to do is simply dial *400# or visit my Safaricom app to get connected today. You've got 11 days to go, because this offer is only valid to new customers and ends on the 31st of August. Feels good to be home with Safaricom Home Fiber.
Indeed, it does. And as we are getting into some sticky ground this morning, we joined by two guests, and one of them is already here. Dr. Davdi Atela is the Secretary General of the KMPDU, and he's here with us this morning. Good morning, Daktari.
Good morning, Drew.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine. I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm fine. And Dennis Aseto is here, and Dennis Okari is here, and we have some things to see if we can open up a little bit, because there just seems to be a lot at the moment, from unpaid insurance to not being able to take care of health needs to many things which we'll be talking about later as well, in terms of medical workers. But we're here to open this up, and necessary for us to have that conversation. We'd like to hear your interpretation of the proverb that Aseto will share, if you would.
Yeah, so the proverb today comes from Zambia, and when we talk about Zambia, we're looking at a country whose economy is being pushed by several factors, so agriculture being one of them, but then again mining takes the lead, because they are the biggest producers of copper, cobalt and tourism as well, and energy in the country is doing very, very well. So when we talk about agriculture, maize, like Kenya, is the staple food for them, but for them they produce something called shima, and shima is porridge, and that is their national delicacy. So that is their ugali, their form of ugali there. But let's go to the proverb. A small tick can cause great sickness. A small tick can cause great sickness. How would you interpret that?
That's you should never ignore a small issue, because then it is from that particular small problem that a big one can emerge. Just like a small leak in a ship can make the ship to capsize. So it's just telling us that we should not ignore something that it's small. It's out of that small that the serious problem, catastrophe occurs.
Indeed, well put. Dr. there is quite a lot that's going on when we look at, the health system, the sector at the moment. Of course, there's a lot of complaints, there's lamentations, and some of those are grounded in fact and not emotion. We do know, obviously, that there has been the sentiment from a lot of folks that, SHA is not working, and they say that based on what somebody else has said. But then there are very many an individual who have tried to go through the system and it hasn't worked for them. Giving you some examples, there are people who have paid up 1 year and they have then gone to hospital and they've been asked, well, unfortunately, we cannot offer, you must pay cash. Most recently on Monday, we have seen that civil servants who make up a particular tier will not be able to access. They're asked to pay cash, even though this money has been deducted at source, and in line also with private insurers where they're not able to access this care. It just seems that thing after thing is going on. We saw regional SHA offices closed the other day, and now we are seeing that those who go outside the country for treatment with an accreditation by SHA are not going to be able to access healthcare for the time being. There seems to be so much going on, and we've just got to ask, it would appear as though there is no handle on healthcare at the moment. Is that the case, or are these bumps in the road?
They may appear like bumps in the road rather than saying that there is no healthcare in entirety. But I believe that the change that is being done by Social Health Authority is to ensure that there is coverage of healthcare, but the way it's being done, the speed at which it's being done is what is causing the problems that we are seeing. I believe that this idea that those who are abroad or seeking medical care abroad, their packages being stopped, is not something that is actually good, in the sense that there has to be a plan, because those people already there having been approved to seek care, even if the government has to relook at the packages of the medical insurance for those particular services that are not that are there in the country, this one should be covered. To the point that you tell somebody that is going to go next that if that particular service is available locally, therefore you should not actually stick it out. But anybody who was approved and is already in, for example, India or Egypt or in another country, when you say that we are not going to pay and they totally dependent on that particular insurance, that becomes quite unethical, and that thing cannot go well with anybody, and including the government that is doing that, because those particular families will be stranded or they'll be forced to sell all their properties, and that is not the basis of insurance. When you're covered by the insurance, the agreement that is set forth should cover you when you need that particular care, and once it's been approved, there's no change midway. The other thing that the access to care with insurance companies, for example, in public facilities, one thing that has come out glaringly is the outpatient medical services, particularly level 5 and 6, where they tell you must get sick care in level 2, 3, and level 4. But then we realize, as much as government has been saying the primary health care is free, there are some hospitals, for example in Kiambu, which were charging patients when they go to those particular facilities. So it was like, how do you say these level 2 and 3 are free when we go to those hospitals and we get charged for this particular services? That was a concern that need to be resolved.
So why are people being charged in that example of Kiambu when the government has pronounced itself over the issue?
I was with the advisor of the president yesterday, Dr. Thuranira, and he was telling us that he had asked the governor of Kiambu that, why are you charging? The governor actually said they were not charging patients. So he had to pretend like he's a patient in Kiambu. It's one, I think, level 3 hospital and level 4. And he had to pay to seek the care. So there's the aspect of the policy and this aspect of implementation. So if there's no alignment between the national government, which actually handles SHA, and these county level hospitals 2, 3, and 4, then that becomes a problem. So that's one thing that comes in. Then there's a bigger problem of the civil servants, whereby we saw the Kenya Health Federation say that they will not be giving services to the civil servant. On one point, they are very right to actually say they won't give the care. But on the other side, we were feeling like the private hospitals are using the much needed services by the public servant to use as a bargain. But they're right on one hand that when services are being given by any hospitals, they ought to be paid. Then we realize that from 1st of October 2024 to the time that they give this notice, they have not been paid. It's only when they issued that notice that civil servants will not get care that I think money was paid to them. So sometimes it's out of the actions of the private hospitals that forces social health authority to actually pay the money. Yet we have a lot of debt still in many hospitals. And the reality is the healthcare can never be free. It's either the insurance pays or the Kenyans who are sick to pay out of pocket.
So, Dr. Just let's back up a bit and look at that example of Kiambu and the conversation that you're having with Tranira. So a patient walks into a hospital. Yes. You've been told by your government that this and that hospital, you can go and get treated.
Yes.
So you walk in. SHA is a medical cover.
Yes.
So you walk in, you're treated.
Yes.
Then you go to pay. And then you're told you have to pay cash. So there are two things here. There is the patient who is expecting a service. Then they're expecting that SHA is going to work. Then there is the hospital that now says that you cannot pay SHA, you need to pay cash. What really is the issue? Is the issue that they can't access the system, or they can't extract the information of the patient, or it's a claims issue? So if we allow you to go away after SHA is cleared, we will have a difficult time getting this money back. What really is the issue for somebody to fully understand what we're dealing with?
I think it's a lack of awareness, maybe from the patient point of view, and also just sometimes some county governments or some hospitals going rogue. And in the sense that when you have signed it as a level 2, level 3, or level 4, that you say to be of a primary health care, that you get your funding from the capitation. So it then means that from the point of consultation to the point of triage, to seeing the doctor, to getting the drugs, you should not be charged. But you realize that you will be charged from the point of getting into the hospital administration, whereby you're going to consultation. And that's the spot check that he did. I had after he did that, there was a memo that came out from the county to all the facilities that they should not charge this particular level of hospitals. But that is just one point out in the entire country. So it means there is a problem. The patient must know that because I have social health authority, I should not be paying in this primary health center.
But the hospital tells you have to pay cash. You're just one person. How do you tell a whole hospital that SHA has told me that the government has told me I should not pay cash? Who do you tell this?
And the same thing, these particular hospitals need to... I think is the reality. There's a problem here, and the problem is both from the social health authority that says this level 2, 3, and 4 are free.
Yes.
But then you are going there when these particular hospitals administration are charging you. So there has to be a way that these people are put to account not to charge the patients, and that's what is lacking.
The other thing we've seen, as I finish my train of thought, the other thing that we've seen. In some instances, SHA works for certain people. Like if the four of us, we said earlier on, if the four of us walk into a hospital, we've all registered SHA. It's not too clear because you hear stories. I even have personal stories of people that I know who've gone to hospital and actually SHA has cleared their bills. I know. But then for others, and they've registered, they've paid the premiums, but they still don't get cleared. How does the system change? It's almost like gambling, like a slot machine. How does it work that Aseto will walk into a hospital, SHA will clear his bill, and who walks into a hospital her bills will not be cleared. How does this happen?
And we're both fully paid up.
Yes.
I think this comes to question that we as a union have brought up a lot of time regarding the benefit packages. You realize that you go to the hospital, and by the way the structure of SHA has been put is that it doesn't control how much an hospital is charging a patient. So if you go to hospital A and then you, for example, getting a cesarean section and they're charging you 100,000, and the other lady goes to another hospital that charges, let's say, 30,000. So the package that have been put in this particular SHA is 30,000. So it means that the person who is charged 30,000 will pay it will cover in full. But where you're covered, charged 100,000, they'll pay 30, and you have to pay the difference. That's what they call copayment. So that copayment can actually, at most occasions, make patients to pay extra and above the costs. And that's why I think in 2022, during the NHIF, we were saying that when an insurance company like SHA, which is like NHIF at that time, had asked agreement with the hospitals, it should be a compromise such that if a patient goes there, there's nothing like copayment, whereby the hospital say that they have used extra amount of extra equipment or consumables that you have to pay extra. Because that's the reality. If you go, for example, today and you get a service in let's say Nakuru Level 5 Hospital, and you go to, let's say, the former Medial Hospital, the same services, there'll be different costs. And therefore, the capping that is there will make a patient who's going to Medihill pay extra.
Yeah. So, Dr. we look at SHA and the payment that is there, because now you find that hospitals are demanding that they be paid for them to be able to render services. And we look at a situation where hospitals have said, we will not offer services to civil servants if we are not paid. And it's upon this point where then money is disbursed to the hospitals. And this brings the question, why is it a question of we have to arm twist and bring people almost to a chokehold for these monies to be released if there is a service that was offered? The next thing is to just pay. Why must the government be forced to pay? Why is it just not automatic?
You know, I may not speak for government because I don't know how they think about it, but the reality is there are always periods that should be ascertained that after you offer services, the payment should be done.
Right.
Some should be 30 days, some agreements take 60 days, some agreement takes 90 days. And therefore, it's in all honesty wrong if the 90 days period is exceeded without these particular payments being done, because then it means the hospitals are put in kaput. They can't actually run, they can't offer the services. And that's why sometimes when you see the uproar from the rural hospital associations or from private hospitals, even public hospitals, because they are owed money and therefore they can't run. You can't be expected to have doctors, to have nurses, to have the drugs if these payments are not done. And there has been several pronouncements from government that we are going to pay all those who are below 10 million. They say that we're going to pay all those who are owed after they say verification of the data from NHIF. But in all essence, if these processes are not done within a given timeline, then it causes the crisis we always have in healthcare, where the providers are feeling compelled to take actions before they actually provide this healthcare. Yes.
So Kenyans should understand that even when hospitals say we're not offering services, it's not that hospitals don't want to offer services because they've not been paid.
It's because they can't afford to, because as I told you, healthcare can never be free. You have doctors, you have nurses, you have all these healthcare workers, you must pay them.
Yes.
You have the consumables in the hospitals that must be refilled to actually make it possible even to do lab tests. You have, when you go to the hospital, you must get drugs, and the drugs to be supplied in the hospitals, they must be paid for. So in case you offer these services and payment are not to be done, for example, by Social Aid Authority or any other insurance, there is no possibility of that hospital being able to provide care. And that's why some hospitals were using some unorthodox means, like they will detain a patient. You go to a hospital, they treat you, and then you have a bill of up to, let's say, 10 million. At point of discharge, they feel like there's no mechanisms that they have to get this money. Yeah.
And let's face it, the hospitals are businesses.
True. Yes.
So, I mean, usually when we look at something like this, we look at a problem, and it's easy for us to say, well, it's not working, so damn it to hell. But maybe to understand why it's not working, we need to look at how it should work. So maybe you can help us out with this, Dr. Although, yes, you don't speak for government, but you were in those circles when all of this was being developed in terms of how it was going to work, yes? So, as with any system, if 1 to 1 million people pay premiums they pay a certain amount. In this case, it's a 2.7. Whatever percentage of what you earn. 2.75%. Thank you very much. Of what you earn, that goes into this pool. And we also know that not everybody is sick at the same time. That's why it works, because everybody puts some money in, and at different levels, the government also puts some money in. Now, when we talk about money being put in, it's not necessarily that there's a pool sitting somewhere. Yep. It means that facilities will offer the medical service and they will bill the government, right?
Yes.
Now, if out of 5 of us, we've all paid, likelihood is that maybe 2 out of 5 of us at any given time will then present themselves to hospital.
Yeah.
Now, at the tier that is being refused, that you must now pay cash, that's the tier where you've already made your payment.
Yeah.
So that's how it should work.
Yeah.
So if the money has already been received because it's been deducted at source, or you've paid if you are in private business or whatever the case may be. So where would this money go that then does not allow treatment to happen when you present yourself to hospital?
I think there are multifaceted of issues that sometimes make a challenge. The reality is when there was an overhaul for NHIF to Social Health Authority, the drive of government is for the universal health care. That is, every Kenyan should be able to access the hospital devoid of the socio-economic status. That if you go to the hospital, whether you are a farmer or any case, you should not be worried about funds. But that means that this particular Social Health Authority must have money. And there are only 2 ways to get money into it. One is the deductions from the workers, the salaried, and from those in the informal sector. And we all know that the salaried Kenyans make only 20%. The informal sector make 80%. And as much as we all say roll out, people should register for SHA, it's just to ensure that there's a bigger pool for this money to be utilized. The other part of it is that there has to be tax that inject money into this, and I think that's what they are doing in the primary health care. But how much did they put last time? It was actually very low. So you see, when we have less money, it becomes very difficult to actually make it possible to access the health care.
So is it possible that government doesn't have money to put into that tier?
I can't directly say government doesn't have money, because when you look at the collections they're having now, vis-a-vis the collections that was there in NHIF, we realize that they're comcollecting more.
Okay.
At this particular point.
Okay.
In NHIF, with the collections they were having, the loss ratio of the coverage was at 81%. It means there was always balance of funds after a particular year. So it means, what then it means is just the system. The government must get a way to deal with, to have an engagement with providers, an engagement with hospitals, an engagement with workers, so that everybody knows what is happening. Because sometimes you realize they will say the calendar year affects them disbursing the funds. So it's more of a disjointed communication between the Social Health Authority and the hospitals and the workers.
But should we be at pains, really, to then keep saying that it is working? Should we be at pains? We shouldn't have to say something is working. We should actually see that it is working. Because if universal health coverage, in what it was deemed to be, whether we look at the Uhuru Kenyatta administration, where on the Big Four agenda, access to healthcare, universal healthcare was one of the items, and that we see that translating into the Ruto administration as one of the, again, it's a big one. But should we be at pains to explain that it is working? Should we be at pains to say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, collections? If it's working, should it not be working?
I will not entirely say that Social Health Authority is not working. I think that would make me a liar, because the reality is the inpatient coverage of this particular Social Health Authority, to the best of my knowledge, it covers almost 95% of those who go seeking care there for the inpatient. So depending on which facility and the packages that are put there for the patients. The biggest challenge that has been there is in the outpatient and also in the chronic conditions. For example, you see, before with the NHIF, if you had let's say cancer and for your family, once you exhaust your package, which was then 600,000, then you will easily use your spouse's package for 1 year
to cover.
But with social health authority, it is that money. If it's exhausted, you have to wait for the next financial year. I am a victim of this particular problem because, for example, my father was using the chemotherapy for 6 months. For 6 months, you get the 550 will cover him for that 6 months. Then he has to wait now. So those periods you have to pay cash for that particular next 6 months before it was
kick in again.
Before it was easily being covered by NHIF. When we raised this particular problem with the ministry and with social authority, they said they're going to raise that amount to, I think it was 700. Initially it was 300. It was raised to 550, which is not enough. So they say they're going to do it to 700. So those are some of the problems that are actually existing. But saying that doesn't work, that would be a lie. Because for this first 6 months, it was covered. It's just that the new 6 months was a challenge, which then now has to be sorted out. Why? How? They have to locate money that is good enough for these particular patients. And this is not an isolated problem. It's a problem that actually affects many other patients. Because, for example, in the ward where my father is, there are other people there.
Sure.
Yeah. Who then cannot be paid for. So they have to really wait. And so when you are waiting, in such a scenario, it means your disease is progressing.
So can we say that something is working if it's working halfway? Because if you want to say, when you describe or characterize something as a thing, you do so in completeness, in wholeness. Now, can we say that because it has worked at a certain time, then in the next 6 months, if it doesn't, do you then say that, well, it worked and it's not working now? Can you say that the system works? Can you say that in all honesty?
You see, in all honesty, you have to bring up the issue of what are the challenges that are existing in these systems and what are the cures to it and what mechanisms can you bring to change these. For example, this thing of chronic
and critical care.
Yeah. Initially, they're given cancer diseases 300,000. It's out of concerns that the company that went to 550.
Okay.
That it means that now when you're pushing it to go more, it should go more. It's the same thing with ICUs. Initially, it was at 4,000. Now it has gone to 27,000 per night, 28,000 per night. So in reality, we are looking at there has to be that aspect of bringing real challenges. The people need to go to the hospital and feel like this is the problem. But the biggest concern that I keep on saying, the aspect of co-payment, there has to be conversations to ensure that whatever has been put in benefits and packages is what covers everybody without any hospital or any doctors or nurses or hospital asking you to add more funds to it.
Here's my problem.
Yeah,
we have a good plan.
Yes.
And we've actually consistently said it's not that SHA is not completely working.
Yeah.
It's the confusion of when it works and when it doesn't and why it doesn't. I'm looking back at NHIF, and the question here is around the transition period and whether we were legally, policy-wise, and infrastructure-wise, looking at the system, the softwares and everything, ready for this thing. Now, the initial rollout for NHIF started as a department at the Ministry of Health, not as an independent fund. Then the rollout was very gradual and controlled. And then initially, the contributions were compulsory for formal employees through payroll deductions. That's how it started. Now, the benefits at that time were limited to inpatient care in government hospitals. There was nothing like private, only government hospitals. Then the registration was automatic for formal employees, while voluntary for the informal sector. There was nothing forced. Now, when you look at the expansion after moving from our department, the initial phase was limited to public hospitals. Later, then it expanded to private and faith-based facilities once accreditation standards were introduced. Then outpatient care was not part of NHIF until much later. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
The point I'm making here is forget what now later happened to NHIF. On paper, the rollout plan made sense and it was structured. Is it the same with SHA, or are we then looking at the transition from NHIF to now introducing SHA as, for lack of a better word, we have a space, and it's a political space where there was a promise made that we need to do this and we need to do this right now. And so nothing is really properly structured. So everything has been thrown out there for both public, for private, for government civil servants, for anybody who voluntarily wants to get into this, and it's not clear how it works and how it doesn't. Would you agree with me?
I will agree with you. And I would say that if, for example, social health authority was restricted to public let's say, hospital, public health care, then we won't have the problems we're having now. Because you realize that the packages that have been designed, benefit packages that have been put, will make you go to any public facility without being asked to copay or to have additional costs. But because there's also access to the private sector and the private facilities, that's why there's always the copayment, and that's why there's always concerns that are being raised. Ideally, as a union, we even stopped this social authority in court in 2023. We were against a lot of changes that then were being rolled in at different times. I think it was the judgment of last year that gave them the green light to move on. But the one-time rollout of all these social authority was a problem and has been a problem. So what do we do in such a scenario? It is easier to have the social authority with the challenges and get mechanisms to correct them as it provides services than shutting it down.
Sure. Or then reverting to an old
system. Because then that would mean that the funds that you are having are being used for nothing else, for something else. So it's much easier for us all to bring our inputs to get to have real surveillance. Like by 1st of October, it will be a 1 year time since social authority was launched. We should give evident problems or challenges that have been experienced over that time and the good things of it for also that period. Because with that aspect, then it's much easier then to see what are the changes we need to that benefit package. Because now I've seen a new team in that benefit package. There's some very good professors, Professor Okoh, people who are very objective what they're doing. We have seen a new change in the CEO of that particular of SHA. We have seen the new PS, Dr. Loga, in the ministry. We have seen the new minister, Duale, who was not there before, which now we are seeing more of a stakeholder engagement in terms of this particular space that was not there before.
Sure.
So I believe that if we get to have an honest conversations of what was the situation in the October 2024 and now the October 2025, what has been the teething problem and how can we solve that? That will give us an honest way to change this and even to get a better way to ensure there's more access. Because I know that the collection from informal sector is still a problem, still a challenge.
Sure.
I know that the burden of share is still carried by the salaried workers who form less than 20%. And ideally, for these things to then work as expected, there has to be more money from the budget or from tax to actually cover the Kenyans.
So, Dr. You've mentioned something to deal with stakeholder engagement, because then again we have hospitals, we have the government that is offering the services, but then again there is the aspect of sitting down to iron out the problems within SHA. And you say it's about time that this is held, this meeting is held. Is that happening anytime soon? But then again, let's look at 20 million registered SHA members into this kitty, but you look at around 6 million are paying. 6 million are paying, so that means 6 million are carrying the heavy burden. But then again, you look at even policymakers as they go around, and all they keep on telling Kenyans is, you just register. You just register. That is what is important. But we need to have a conversation on how Kenyans are being encouraged to keep on paying so that this pool gets the money that is needed. So brings the next question, which is, stakeholders and government, are they sitting to iron out the problems, and are we as well just speaking to Kenyans to ensure that those who have not paid up pay up? Because we also know there are those who pay on the day that they are sick for them to get services.
Yeah, I think the model that social authority has adopted is quite different from what NHIF had, whereby in NHIF you had to pay and be paying consistently for at least 6 months to access the care. But with social authorities, that you are sick today, you're asked to pay and you access care tomorrow. So one problem with that is that there's an aspect of bias in that you will pay, get the care, and then forget about paying. And therefore that pooling effect will be lost in the process. I think that's why the handlers of social authority ask that if you are paying, you pay for a year. So that when you're going to the hospital seeking care, you're able to support the rest who are not going. But then the reality is there's actual need to empower the public so that they know and question the hospitals so that you know what you're covered and you know what you hope to get in the hospitals. Because sometimes there's also a possibility And with this aspect of co-payment, that the hospitals can always charge you what they want. And this reality, the person who gets distressed is the patient. So by the time you go to social authority to complain about this thing and go back to the hospital, you'll already have to pay out of pocket. So that aspect of co-payment, I always believe it can always be misused at the disadvantage of the patient.
So it's clear that the skeleton of this, if you imagine it and you put it down on paper, in terms of the blueprint, it makes sense in terms of how it should work. When you start to then put flesh around it is when you now are dealing with this 20-80% that you speak of. But unfortunately, the majority of the funds or resources that are required for SHA to work in the way in which, assuming that everything is in place, is coming from those funds are not coming in the way in which they should. Like Dennis said, you want to, and I guess that's the behavior, that it is when you have been sick, then now we say, okay, let us pay. And then after having recovered, you also then see the sense in paying in advance, just in case something happens. Now, when we talk about stakeholder engagement, there are very many people in this whole thing. How do we impress upon the minds of people the importance of insurance? Because that is what this is. That you put something today because a problem might come tomorrow. Yeah. Because that is what this entire system is hedged on. Without that, SHA definitely will not work. And that any money that comes in, because I would imagine that Grace, who is being asked to pay a year in advance, what it comes to about, what, 3,600 bob? And she works in the informal sector, that she would expect that she goes to hospital in September and finds the money that the money will be paid for the claims that she has. But you can imagine that when she pays, that money goes immediately to pay for another need that is essentially waiting at the door, isn't it? Yeah. So how do we get to the place whereby funds paid are not expended immediately and that they can be used for somebody who is coming in the future? How do we impress upon all of us that importance?
You know, if you look at this insurance-based countries like the US, whereby they tend to tie your social services to having paid this particular the Medicare. So that's a mechanism that I think government tried in 2023, whereby they had put it a compulsory before you get your national ID or marriage certificate or any government services, then you are forced to must have been subscribed to the social authority. I think we're the first ones to run to court to stop it. But when I look at it on the flip side, there has to be a mechanism. There has to be a way to make people actually have these access, pay these particular premiums and be part of the social service. The other workable aspect that I see now South Africa is adopting, and even adopted in Thailand, is this informal sector. These people that we know that they have not. You cannot count on monthly incomes. What has always been happening is that government always have the two models. You have the model of the salaried paying monthly subscriptions, but then these persons are always covered in the tax-based aspect. So it's part of the tax, like the normal that we pay. Then the government they now fix it up and pay on behalf of all these particular persons. That will actually make it easier to have the money that is needed. And I think that's the model. It's the model that we have in social authority. Only that tax part has been put only for primary health care. But if it was a better way, that money should just be provided from the tax.
How do you convince people, though, to put a little bit of something aside in advance? Because that's where it is right now. That we still don't see the importance of it, save for a position of emergency. Now, take the politics aside, because we can't run away from the politics, Daktari, that is clearly evident in this entire authority and the whole system. We know that it exists. But to hazard a guess that if majority of people were putting away something into this pool, that it would make it then easier for us to then look at it and say, actually, you know what, this thing works because all the mechanisms have been put in place, politics aside. Is it possible to impress upon people, or is there such a huge trust deficit that no matter what government comes and says tomorrow, do this so that we can do this for you, people are going to, the first thing they'll say, what do you intend to do with the money?
To be honest, those who have other problems, who have gone to the hospital and the bill comes to maybe 200,000, then you're told to pay your social authority 10,000, then it's cleared. Tend to say some things very differently when they go to the community. I say, actually, this thing helps us.
Yeah.
And even in the former NHIF, there was a big move. You realize that those who are in informal sector used to see the benefit they're getting from it, and they were actually paying for the same. But I really don't want to really look at this insurance problem to be a part of just the government, SHA only. I think private insurance companies are worse in how they're providing care in this country compared even to SHA.
The story named them on Monday, quite a number of them actually.
Yeah. Because if you look at even the access to care for most of the public, let's say this public-run insurance or SHA, you can't compare it to any of these particular private insurance companies, because these private insurance companies always look for the need not to pay. They need not to cover you. So you will pay the premium, like cases we have, and we have the public sector that are covered. We have, for example, in Kiambu, we have more. Whereby it tells you that if you go for maternity, you pay, and then you claim after. So it builds the basis of actually insurance. We have something like Trident for Vihiga County, I think Bungoma County, where it has been agreed you have the card, you go to the hospital, but you're not covered. And they're telling you the premium was paid 50% by the employer. We have one contract with First Insurance that Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital paid as a contract on the hospitals to cover. Then you go to the hospital, you go to the Eldoret Hospital, you're not covered. So we had to even call a strike for them to actually end up covering. So the issue of this coverage, yes, we have the public insurance, the SHA, and also we have these many private insurance companies. Their action is even worse. And yesterday we said in our press statement that if you look at the entire package of universal health care, we cannot put that burden on your social authority. We have that burden also with private insurance, because when people say that we have private insurance and we have public insurance, they should all work to ensure there's access.
Yes.
Let's have an honest conversation here, because when it comes to issues of payment, right now in this country, if we were to be very honest with ourselves, I'm just looking at figures. I can't qualify these figures, but practically looking at the low contribution rates across the population, over 23 million Kenyans are registered under SHA, but only 5.6 million are actually contributing.
So employed
23 million who are registered. All these 23 want to access healthcare, but only 5.6 are actually contributing. Now, that leaves about 17 million registered but non-paying individuals. Obviously, the system will be weakened. Now, the majority of these non-contributors are in the informal sector, which comprises then over 80% of Kenya's workforce. Now, if we are then saying that we need to maybe have a conversation around people getting insurance cover and thinking about putting money into this, a lot of this 80%, it's hand to mouth. They don't even have enough money to save. They don't have even an emergency fund anywhere. You meet 10 people and ask 10 people, how much are you putting on the side for your health insurance cover? How much do you have for emergencies? How much do you have for this and that? The payslip has been slashed so much. You have housing on one side. So by the time you're having a conversation with somebody that you need to consistently pay this because in future you may need this and the other people also need, everybody's on survival mode. Everybody's in survival mode. The moment I get sick is when I will figure out what to do. That's when I will pay for SHA. Is the model not? Is this modeled? And on paper, it's incredible. It should work, but is it modeled around the realities that are in the country? If we are to be honest with ourselves,
that's one of the biggest challenges. I think that's why most hospitals are demanding for their payments, and most of the times. The social authorities say that they'll pay, but they don't pay on time. The reality is health can't be free. And this is one thing that I said and I keep saying. Somebody has to pay. And when we have only 5.5 million paying for the over 20 million or 30 million, then there's a problem. And the way other countries have sorted that particular gap, as I said, I think now South Africa and I think Thailand is doing that, is that informal sector, which we know, I think here we used to call them indigents. The indigents, we have about maybe 1 million or 2 million.
Yes.
The best way is to have government cover that particular difference as part of their social responsibility. It can be in the tax, it can be the allocations. But the moment you only have these particular funds, then it becomes a problem in terms of having access. And one thing I think one of my colleagues say that because of the approach that we have, always because of this particular social aid authority, there's always a continuous increase in the benefit package. But this continuous increase benefit package, like we saw in ICU and we saw in the chronic, and we're now pushing for the cancer, it has to go hand in hand with our contributions. It means that there has to be many more people in the informal sector either contributing or government allocating more funds to that particular SHA. Otherwise, we'll continue making noise and complaining without any tangible outcome. What then that means is that we will be running down saying this social authority is not working, therefore what can I do as somebody who is employed? I need to get a backup of maybe Jubilee insurance, I need to get a backup of this particular private insurance. Then you realize that these particular insurances will tell you, you must have your SHA working first and claim done on part of SHA before we pay.
But it is not clear that it doesn't work at that instant. By the time, and please, maybe just for some guidance here. By the time you're going to a private insurer to cover, it is already clear that the other one that you have access to, SHA, has not been able to do that for you, isn't it?
No. If you look at the Act, the SHA Act, it says that they say this is what they provide, the packages, and then they say it's free for every Kenyan to get another secondary insurance, something that we were opposed to when it was being done at the Act. But once they provided that, therefore, some employers get for their employees private insurance on over and above the SHA.
Yes.
But then the private insurance have put it as a rule that you must exhaust what is provided for you in SHA in terms of the payment that are being done before they pay the extra.
Why? But you've paid your premiums on this private insurance. You can do whatever you want if you've paid, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the reality. But that's what should happen. But this is the reality now. To the point that if, for example, you don't have this SHA, then they will not cover you. We have a case also, again with First Assurance, where a doctor who works in Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital takes the wife to the hospital, and because the wife is a foreigner who was not having SHA, but it's part of the First Assurance, it was not covered, so he had to pay out of pocket for this particular bill. That was one of the complaints that we raised, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So it means that this issue of social aid authority, this issue of private insurances, if you're not checked, then the person who's paying the premiums end up suffering.
Daktari, we talk about all these insurances, we talk about stakeholders and everything, but let's look at the goodwill that does exist. And when we talk about goodwill, it's not just about the political class. Let's talk about goodwill of ensuring that healthcare in the country is accessed by all. So we talk in terms of the government in making sure that the bottlenecks policy and the bugs in SHA are fixed. But let's take it further down to Mwananchi making sure that they pay their premium. And let's go to the service providers. So we talk about the hospitals, about the private insurances, in making sure that we all come together to ensure that access to healthcare is there. From where you sit, would you say there is an understanding or a common understanding, especially from doctors and hospitals and insurance providers, that there is need to work together to support SHA in ensuring that universal healthcare does exist in the country? Are we speaking the same language?
I think the reality is that we don't speak the same language. We have all been protecting our own personal interests within the field of where we are, because we see the social aid authority looks at how can they minimize expenditure, just like all the other insurance companies see how can we minimize cost or the expenditure, while the private hospitals are looking at how can we maximize profits, while the patient is looking at how can I get quality healthcare. So a process will go whereby in all these struggles, the person who suffers is the patient. Because the hospitals will look at how do they maximize the profit. It means that they will give you, they'll use the cheapest, the most available products. They'll tell you use generic drugs. They tell you use the most baseline equipment. While the insurance company will be like, this is our cap. Whether it is SHA or any private insurance, this is the cap. You cannot add it anymore. So in all the entirety, the person who's going to get the least, who's going to carry the burden of all this is the patient, because they will not get the care that they need. And that was our complaint yesterday, where some insurance company, and I think even social authority, they dictate to the doctors, to the patient, which doctors to see. because they are doing a paneling. So you find that this doctor A has been empaneled, and that's the only doctor you can see for you to be covered. Or you go to a particular hospital. That if you don't go to Nairobi Hospital, or you don't go to Mata, or you don't go to Aga Khan, you're not covered. And then they dictate to you what tests are being done. You have a doctor who's not getting any benefit from this. He just wants to make you sure that you're getting the right test. But the insurance company says, no, that test we won't cover. And therefore the patient will not have to get that particular test. We have seen this in J insurance. And doctors complain over these things.
Is it just a random clandestine refusal? Or is it backed with reason?
It's not backed by reason. It's just like, for example, you go to see a doctor and you had maybe a bone problem, or you are an orthopedic, refers you to go do a particular X-ray or MRI, but then the insurance says they don't cover that. So it means that is not being done. They will say they cover most basic one of the tests, and in that process, the reality is that the patient is undertreated.
So, Doctor,
and again, to go to a further part is even the drugs. They'll tell you, instead of using, there's some people who have been using these particular brand drugs, mostly those who are in chronic conditions. So the moment you change their chronic drugs into particular generic, you realize that because there are different expressions in these particular drugs, the way that maybe their diabetes or their hypertension was controlled comes to be different. But this insurance company will dictate to them, give this particular generic drugs. So in all these aspects, the insurance companies are for their own interest. They want to ensure that they spend less to maximize the profit. The hospitals are also in their own interest, trying to maximize. Now, the person who suffers here is the patient. But if we are all working with one approach, that is the quality, cost-effective healthcare for the patient, then we won't have much of this particular problem.
What will it take for everyone to sit at the table and have this conversation in unison?
We must know that it's not only a responsibility of one person to handle these matters. The doctors need the insurance so that the patient can access the care. And this doesn't matter whether it's a private insurance or the social health authority, and therefore there's no way the social authority can make unilateral decisions on matters of healthcare. They must sit down with the providers and get to have analysis of the costs that are put as packages. And the insurance, the hospitals must also look at the value of giving the patients quality care. So all that we must have the patient's aspect. We must have the healthcare workers. We must have the hospital. We must have the government who now manage under this share. Because with that common approach, it will be easier to have a better access than if it was only the way it's always happened, where the benefit package of share will say, this is what we are covering, nothing else. Because and then they say you can charge whatever you charge as long as this is the cap of it. It means that these hospitals will not want to go at a loss. Therefore, they will put extra charges. And that will be borne by the patients who don't have that particular ability. Then that becomes the problem.
There's a trust deficit. I went for a surgery sometime, I think last year, and I didn't understand it then. Later is when I did, when the insurance cover, they sent the insurance company sent somebody over to my room, and this person was asking, "Oh, so Dennis, so sorry for what you've gone through. Was it successful? Yeah. So what exactly did they do?" So I'm in bed in pain, and this person is asking me what was the procedure, and ask me a lot of other things. And I'm thinking, why are you asking me this? Then I realized they're actually not coming to check on me. It's a trust issue because they want to verify the claims the hospital is making. Okay, so did you go through this surgery? Really? What did they give you? And I'm like, I can't remember all the medication, but this is what they've been giving me. I've been here for the last 3 days. And this person is actually noting. Then I figured, how many patients do they do this? How many officers are sent to hospitals to verify that this claim you went through this surgery, this was the procedure done, this is the medication that was used, that indeed that is happened. It's a trust issue. The system is broken.
This is a problem here.
Oh yeah, it is. I think that's also has manifested itself in the social health authority, where they have now brought this aspect of G360, whereby if you are a doctor, you can only see a patient in a particular facility, and that patient can do a claim when you are there. It means that if you are not there, then the claim cannot be done. So,
this is essentially a claim linked to an individual medical practitioner.
Yes.
But there's no space for that in the law. There's no space for that in the authority. There's no space for that with insurance.
Yes, I mean, the social authority have a right to to do what they're trying to do, though it's against the law. Because they're trying to see that they're trying to see how do they curb these particular frauds that have been occurring. So that's what they think, that if we map every hospital, every doctor to a particular place, they're not going to get this thing to be possible. But the reality is different in terms of, is it possible that this particular doctor will be there at that time to do that particular claim?
Sure.
It will not be possible. And now the person who will suffer in all this particular problem is the patient. And therefore there has to be a real conversation on how can this be done to ensure that there is no fraud, at the same time the patient accesses the care.
And that's why we start these conversations. Good for us to put out there. It's good because we were saying this is how it should work, and we can see the reasons why it's not working. And it seems collective in nature that, you know, everybody's got to put a little bit of a chip onto the block and then see how we can get to it. Dr. Davji Atela is the Secretary General of the KMPDU, has been here with us this morning talking SHA. Let's see what happens. We'll go through it. Thank you so much, Dr. Ari.
Thank you so much, Ndu, and Double Dennis.
Thank you. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto has thanked Japan for its support in developing various projects in Kenya. Speaking at Yokohama Tigard 9, Japan, Ruto said that our trade ties are equally strong and has seen an increase of 33% support since last year.
The recent admission by the president that Parliament is corrupt and that senators demand for...
Well, moving on, I'm sorry for that audio bite. The Senate has scheduled a special session for today to address two major issues: the swearing in of nominated Senator Consolata Nabwire and the hearing of impeachment charges against Kericho Governor Dr. Eric Kipkoech Mutai. In a Gazette notice, Senate Speaker Amason Kingi announced that the session scheduled for 2:30 p.m. at the Senate Chamber in Parliament Buildings, Nairobi, will begin with Nabwire's official oath taking. She is set to join the House as a nominated senator, replacing Gloria Oroba. Oroba was found guilty of making public statements that harmed the party's image and repeatedly failing to respond to disciplinary charges. Senators will immediately turn their attention to Governor Mutai's impeachment motion, which follows the Kericho County Assembly's decision to remove him from office. The Assembly Speaker formally communicated the decision to the Senate last week, with some of the members in the county having this to say.
For resources, but where to use the back resources is a problem. And that's why we are today, to let them know that they cannot these public resources in peace. And we are not going to allow them. You know, somebody say that you don't allow them to speak because they can ask for forgiveness and they can be forgiven. We have not to allow these people to steal our public resources. I speak on behalf of people of the Bangalore, Mr. Speaker. And in this, things not delivered, Mr. Speaker, they say that the role.
A senior police ballistic expert has told a Nairobi court that a bullet recovered from a 2017 shooting incident in Isili could not be conclusively linked to any of the pistols submitted for forensic examination. He was testifying in a case where police officer Ahmed Rashid has been charged with the murder of two men along Isili's 4th Street on March 31st, 2017. Rashid, who has long been known as a tough crime buster in Italy, is accused of executing the suspects in broad daylight, an incident that was partly captured on video and later went viral, sparking public debate on extrajudicial killings. The trial against Officer Rashid continues today. Over 700 delegates from Uganda, Kenya and other countries are expected to attend the 4th Uganda-Kenya Coastal Tourism Conference and Exhibition under the theme Using Youth Innovation and Technology for Responsive and Inclusive Tourism. Speaking in Malindi, Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro said that the conference will provide a unique opportunity to attract a great number of tourists from the two countries to visit Uganda and Kenya.
Numbers also speak loudly. According to the 2024 Kenya Tourism Sector Performance Report, Uganda remains Kenya's second largest source market, contributing 225,559 visitors, which accounts for 9.4% of arrivals. Conversely, Kenya is Uganda's top source market. This conference is therefore not just a celebration, but a call to action to harness these numbers into strategic growth.
And that's the news wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. This Wednesday, the 20th of August. Teens are coming tomorrow, but we'll get into that today, isn't it? All right. We're getting into that conversation this hour, but just before we do, two folks going away with, not going away, but then being able to talk it up with Safaricom airtime, courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. Jane Masharia says she would use Safaricom Fiber at home since she has a small baby and installed CCTV cameras to see how things go when she's not around. Very fast and efficient, any day, anytime. Candy G. Laria says Safaricom Home Fiber would make my life so much easier by giving me fast, reliable internet, work streaming, and staying connected with my family. 1,000 shillings of Safaricom airtime to you both. And Selfa is going to get in touch with a message on Facebook, courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. They've said it. You've been telling them. It seems to be true.
Yes, it is. And beyond that deal, let me even sweeten the deal.
Okay.
So this month, well, you have 11 days. You have 11 days if you are a new customer to get yourself Safaricom Home Fiber internet connection. Now, what's the deal? You get to enjoy double speeds for only 25%, at 25% on any plan of your choosing. Bronze, silver, gold, and diamond plans. Any, you get 25%. Now, on top of that, you get a welcome package, which is a free router, and you don't pay anything for the installation. Any part of this country, from Turkana to Homa Bay, Kisumu, Kisii, wherever, you get this done. Now, why do you need to stay connected with this? Is because you're not just talking about speeds, we're talking about reliability. Whether you are gaming, whether you are watching movies, whether you just love working from home. Now, we have a lot of people work from home, and people enjoy high-speed web browsing, online working, anything that you fancy, you are sorted. Now, how do you get this? Simply dial *400# or visit my Safaricom app to get connected today. Remember, this offer is only valid to new customers and ends in the next 11 days. 31st of August is the deadline. Feels good to be home with Safaricom.
Indeed.
Home Fiber.
Dennis Okari is the man with the goodies with Faricom Home Fiber. Getting into more with that. More airtime for you tomorrow. All right. Professor Macharia Munene is a political historian, and I think there are many other titles that you don't put to that name, but you're here this morning. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Joseph Kamanya is a political analyst, also here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
We're getting into conversations this morning. Many things are happening. We'll get into that in just a bit. Dennis Aseto has gone to Zambia this week.
And we are in Zambia. We recognize that they came to the country to play some football.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
I know. And Kenya did that thing. But it is also a beautiful country because you look at the economy, mining. They produce cobalt and copper, one of the biggest producers of copper. And you look at their tourism, and maize happens to also be their staple. And they cook something called shima, which is a porridge. Like it's not ugali, it's porridge like, and that is the national dish, one would say. But let's go to our proverb today. And a small tick can cause great sickness. A small tick can cause great sickness. Just what? How would you interpret that?
Well, a very good morning to Dennis Squared. And to other Kenyans who are watching and listening to us. I think a very small tick can cause
great sickness.
It talks about functionality, in my opinion, that every cog of the machine is important. Whether it is fully functional, that depends now on the outcome that you'll have. So for me, it's about functionality. Every part being in play and in place at the right time, in the right motion, then you're going to have a good output.
Prof?
Well, essentially, don't ignore anything, no matter how small it is, because the damage can be something else. Yeah.
Well put, well said.
Indeed. All right. So tomorrow is the 21st of August. And there's a lot of hullabaloo around what will happen when former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua jets back into the country. His party, the DCP party, and the Secretary General have made an announcement. They gave a presser the other day, and they basically told us that there's going to be the mother of all peaceful marches. It's not a protest because nothing to protest about, I imagine, but that there's something that they're trying to say. And so we're looking at that coming back, and we're asking questions around, so what does this exactly mean? But beyond that, we've seen another play in politics that has developed over the last 3 weeks, whereby there has been a pronouncement by the government, by the president, over corruption. And that for the first time in a most robust manner than he has ever been doing or has ever done since he took over office, that he has overtly expressed his disdain for corruption, but has brought it right to the foot of Parliament and has said, National Assembly, Senate, there's a problem here. Your houses are in a mess. You people are taking bribes. Everything is crazy. And members of Parliament got their knickers in a twist yesterday and have said, this is not on. So there are many things happening in what would be the same political vortex in the country at the moment. And then we must ask, how do we pick it apart and see this thing for what it really is? Prof?
Actually, it's an interesting scenario. Especially the part about corruption. The president reading the Riot Act on the MPs who think for the first time in a long time they rebelled against the president. The right on his face and said, no, you can't call us that. And so when they met at first, the assumption was that they were going to discuss how ODM and UDA will gang up and pass some things that are pleasing to their political interests. But then both Raila and Ruto went out of their way to annoy the MPs.
Was it an ambush?
Went out of their way to annoy them?
It looks like as if it was an ambush. They wanted a big diversion, the public to be diverted with something. So when Raila goes and tells the MPs to forget about CDF, they say, no way. Then Ruto says, yeah, you people are all crooks. They say, what are you talking about? and the president talking with a lot of authority.
Yes.
You get 10 million or 100, whatever it is, and when you raise the issue, where do you get 150 million shillings to work around with? It was a good question. But then how did Sudi have 145 million to go around with?
Well, he's an MP.
So a lot of questions are raised. What's going on? Could be a very good way to divert attention
from something.
And related now to that other something is this fellow who refused to fade away from the public. That's Gachagua. When he was impeached, he was supposed to stay dead, politically dead, and something went wrong. Because he didn't. He resurrected.
He didn't stay dead?
No. He refused to stay dead. And that has become a problem in the country.
Joseph, why is it a problem that impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has refused, according to Prof's words, has refused to stay dead?
Well, indeed, it's a problem for the regime. You have also to understand whose problem is it. It's a problem not for the people of Kenya, but for the regime, for the leadership of the nation. Because he is exposing the underbelly of the so-called cabal that is existing in State House. He comes out guns blazing and firing and exposing all the underhanding and undertaking of deals or mismanagement of our resources in general, which makes now people see the president and his people in a different light. And therefore, him being away, they have alleged that there has been tranquility, but I guess it's because they don't understand where the exact opposition lies. The exact opposition lies with the people. But also because the impeached former deputy president has the capacity to excite emotions. So his homecoming is also alarming to them. And they're wondering now, when he comes back, what more will he speak of? What more will he say? Because even during his tour, we've had him make statements that are also still casting, shade on the president and the regime, basically. So I think his homecoming is a problem to them. He's going to give them more sleepless nights. He has managed to set on fire, figuratively speaking, the political alliance that the president has been trying to build.
Why are we calling it a homecoming as though he's a prodigal son who's returning to the country after having to go and squander his father's goods or resources? Is a Kenyan who went abroad. It's just because he held the position that we're giving it a lot of attention.
Well,
why?
We've had many homecomings. We had Miguna homecoming. Well, he's coming home, but he's not, I agree with you, he does not hold any substantive office. He's just a Kenyan, a normal Kenyan, an impeached person actually, who constitutionally cannot even hold a public office. But I think it's in light of him having tried to format an opposition, the coalition of the deputies, is what is giving now this, what do you call them, the UDA-ODM alliance, some excitement, because they don't know what he's going to say when he comes back. They don't know what he's going to tell Kenyans when he comes back. He has officially joined the public in saying that this government is not functioning. So, and you see, the balkanization is trying to drive around the country, as divisive as it is. It is not good for the regime, but it is good for the people.
When you say balkanization, what exactly do you mean? So here we have the former deputy president impeached, going around the country, selling his agenda, coming up with the party, knowing very well that he can't run for office, but he's been making inroads anyway.
Correct.
And here is an individual who's coming back, and he has carried the tag of being a tribal man, based off immediately after forming government and the shareholding statements that he made. And if you look at it right now as we speak, the government would say that man, he has nothing to offer. Prof, does he have anything to offer?
Yes, he has excitement to offer. And people get very excited about it. The former deputy president, yes, he was impeached. Unfairly though, but he was impeached. And part of his popularity was because the whole process was unfair. And it was perceived to be that way. So there's a lot of sympathy towards him because of that. And he exploits it very well. Because people say, no, this was not Yeah, they say we know it was not unfair. It was not fair, so they do that. Second, he has his own problems. The mention about the shares and the traps. Now, if you are to believe Governor Mutaika here, it was not his idea to say those things. He was told by Ruto, go and say the following. And then he went and said the following, which now turned against him. Now, if the governor is correct, then it raises questions about Gashagua's judgment. Because as a leader, he should be able to tell what things are should or should not be done. And so that admission by the governor was not very positive for him, although it was meant to be a way of exonerating Gachagua from the blame. But then it also brought another issue. Is he not mature enough to be able to tell things that are not proper or what? And he has unfortunately displayed that aspect of immaturity. Because some of the things he says, you see, wait a minute, did he say that? And he wants to lead. So the Ruto side does not have to do a lot of things for him to do himself some damage, because there are expectations that people who are leaders, there are some things they will not do.
And prophecy, you say a lot in terms of the judgment from an individual, and that if you just, as Okari would say, zoom out and just start picking things one by one, you'd assume that that is pretty much what the leadership in the country is doing. Pretty much when they're told by the party leaders, go do this, they do that without asking questions. Go past Finance Bill 2024, even when Kenyans have said, no, that's exactly what they do. Go past this law, regardless of public participation not happening. Impeach Gachagua without going through the due process. Still goes to do that. And Kamanya, for a country and its leaders who do not have their own brains to think for them, if one would say, then what's in it for the country if you're being led by people who are Mr. Yes, sir?
You know, the making of a tyrant or dictatorship is what we are facing. The leadership has abdicated the role of working on the public policy and serving us as Kenyans, and committed themselves to enriching the few. And when you look at you know, even if you draw back a few years ago, you realize the former President Uhuru came out and told us that we were losing 2 billion every day. And we wondered, why are you telling us? You're the president. You should do something about it. So now we have a replica of the same. Fast forward, the current president comes out and says, my people are corrupt. Because the people who run the houses are the speakers, the majority leaders, and the minority leaders, and the whips of the houses. And those are the people who move the people. So it is expected that the ones who've been extorting and moving the money. But where has the money been coming from? Again, because most of the businesses that has needed attention of the full house have been government businesses. So if there has been bribery and corruption, money must have come from the government. And then he goes on to say that we're going to arrest these people. I'm waiting for the day. I'm really waiting for the day. And I know Kenyans want to see how this plays out. But most importantly, as you say, you're asking where does this leave us as a country? It leaves us in a situation whereby, as the Gen Z revolution clearly stated, this government has been rendered illegitimate. That is where we are. We are at the mercy of the constitution. We are only at the mercy of time. Because again, even the judiciary cannot really help us. I don't think so at this moment. We've had attacks from the same executive telling the judiciary, you're too lenient. You need to be more tough. That's why I'm saying the making of a tyrant, you know, rising to dictatorship. That is where we are. But I think as Kenyans, we must rise up and call it out for what it is. Because today I wonder where, you know, the Juja MP, Koimburi, I wonder where he is. I hope the president owes him an apology, because when he came out and said MPs were bribed, remember, for the impeachment, the whole house rose against him. But then the president had come out and said, actually, yes,
money
has been changing hands.
And speaking of money changing hands, Prof, so President Ruto is in Japan, okay? But right before he jetted out of the country, beyond saying this at the devolution conference where he started this conversation, and then yesterday, before leaving, to demonstrate his seriousness about this matter, he then went ahead and created a powerful multi-agency team that will then spearhead, the war against corruption and further economic crimes and related offenses. Now, the agency is going to be domiciled in the office of the president, and with the Attorney General as its secretary, and bringing together an array of other agencies. So you look at the National Intelligence Service, you're looking at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, KRA is also there, Central Bank, Financial Reporting Center, Asset Recovery Agency, and the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. It almost appears that this is now the army that is ready for war. He's actually going on the offensive. Now, in Parliament, there was no applause to this move. Ordinarily, you'd expect people will, especially the members of Parliament, will actually applaud this move. Instead, he was met with fury. I'm looking at Kimani Ichung'wah, for example. His last tweet was pictures of that meeting at Karen. I think this was before Raila and Ruto spoke. But from yesterday, we're starting to see now a different tone. And there was a press briefing. And Kimani Ichung'wah said, Ruto and Raila shouldn't intimidate you, now referring to the MPs in the House. We're not doing them a favor by being in this House. It's hard to believe that now we've reached the point where he would, the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah will say something like this, and other MPs allied to both ODM and UDA speaking against their masters. What do you see happening? I know you earlier said there's something else happening behind the scenes, but this is what we're dealing with at the moment. What are your projections? What is going on behind the scenes?
I think there is a big cover-up taking place.
Big cover-up?
Yeah, or something, I don't know what it is, but something is being covered. They're putting together a new committee of the same people. Doesn't add value. All it says is that they have all failed. Because those agencies that you mentioned, it's their job to be catching these people. So they have been failing. So now putting them together as a team, is that going to make them more efficient when they have been failing individually? There is something wrong that's going on. It might turn out that a few people will be sacrificed. Exactly who will be sacrificed is another matter. Maybe Kimani Ichung'wah might be one of them. Because
could that give rise to the boldness with which he spoke in Parliament yesterday?
It's possible, yeah. And when the president was talking about more than 100 million shares, somebody moving around with it, and then there was a story, I don't know how true it is, that Kimani Ichung'wah bought what, shares worth 100 and something million? And say, where did he get that money? So I tried to say, is there a connection here? And then some people, other than Kimani Ichung'wah, beginning to sound like Moses Kuria. Something is wrong somewhere. And there is likely to be some shake-up in the governing structure. And some people will be shown the door.
To what end? And I think this is the thing that we always try to say, and try to see, look through the clearing and beyond the stirring of the waters.
Right.
That to what end would it be that, even as Okari was saying that, previously, if such a stakeholder committee was put together, we would see rapturous applause. I'd go further and say the president only needed to open his mouth and say whatever he wanted to say, and those who are in opposition would have a problem, and those who were in support, without even hearing the words, would be in absolute support. But that changed in less than 2 weeks, and he said something that would essentially attack individuals or groups of people. And for the first time in a very long time, we have seen Parliament, Senate and the National Assembly come together across political divide.
Right.
it seems a little bit more to me than just a renewed fight against corruption.
It is true, and you're right when you say there's something more than just a fight against corruption. And I think the unity of purpose, the both houses, and also, the government joined the opposition, or the opposition joined the government, however that format looks like, has now come out to threaten the MPs. That's why they're coming out united. You realize that the UDA-ODM dalliance calls for political realignment. And the people that the president is speaking to, in my opinion, that have been rent seekers on behalf of the welfare of the members of parliament, are his men, his inner circle. And you realize when the NADCO came up, when the president and the Raila Odinga came together, led to the crucifixion or impeachment of the former deputy president. So these new dalliance that you're seeing also must mean that room has to be made for political realignment. And there is no better way of trying to get rid of your people than acting like the hyena. When it wants to eat its cubs, it says they're smelling like a goat. So for the president to get rid of his people who are around him, could be now the majority leaders, Prof is saying, he has to come up with a story, whether true or not. Because also, remember, politically, he's the one person that the president seems to be counting on. Is the ODM fraternity.
If that's the case, why use corruption? Because let's be honest here, that in President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, if he was open about the problem of corruption, about money being lost, I think it's still used in every single economic conversation to date about how much money is lost on a daily basis and where it goes. We've had members of parliament who've told us over and over that money changes hands. They know the whole bathroom in parliament scenario where you can get 10,000. It's not new. It's not a novel thing. Right. It has been known. It's been said over and over again. Why use something like that is in the public arena, that is not, it is an open secret, to then try and oust other people? It doesn't seem to make sense.
We possibly may want to wait and see why he has decided to throw the entire National Assembly and the Senate under the bus. Maybe he has realized they have ran their course when it comes to moving the masses, moving the public. Because for him to seek re-election, this is purely, in my opinion, this is purely a presidential agenda, and it's geared towards the 2027 campaign. He's trying to find out how can I best now realign and create a team that hopefully may help me propel out there in prevailing over the masses. So I think it's a calculated move, but again, as you say, why use what is obvious?
Yeah.
And everybody knows that the president has been accused of corruption. So people are saying the king of corruption is now crying foul when his game is not working correct.
Can we separate it from the hallowed return of Rigathi Gachagua tomorrow?
There could be. There is an assumption that Gachagua's return tomorrow might be received the way Raila was received before. There's a time when Raila came back from somewhere, and in that reception, a new terminology was created. He was called Baba. From that moment, he became Baba. Equally, when Tiba returned back in the 1990s from his sick bay in London, and then he was received as a big hero, whether it was organized. But there is that moment that there's something. Now, will Gachagua feed that kind of expectation? And then what he might get to his head and say, now if this kind of reception, then I have it, and mobilize. So there is an attempt to downplay that expectation. It is also possible that the MPs who have been down the ground and they have been told in no uncertain terms, we don't like what you people are doing. You are doing this and this. So if the MPs are gradually beginning to move away, maybe it was prudent for the president to hit them before they are seen to have moved away. And so that can say this. And the issue of corruption, I think even the papers are showing that there is a log in your eye. What are you talking about? Which is not a very good image because he has not been able to explain properly a few things associated with him about even building a church worth 1.2 billion shillings at the State House. That's public property. The State House is public property. So how do you build a private thing in a public property? That's grabbing, And some people say, well, deal with that. Or some other thing that can be raised questions, like is it the faith intercessors? What are those kind of things. So he has a credibility problem. And President Ruto, give him credit, he tries very hard to be the brilliant everything. He is not doing very well at home, but he likes to be seen outside there as a wonderful, the leader of the Africans. And that one he pushes. So he keeps on going there to be received as the leader of the Africans and get good coverage. In a few places like France, Macron likes him, so he gives him a chance to address a rally in Paris. You say, how is that? When Biden was around, he thanked him a lot for agreeing to send a police officer to Haiti and gave him a nice treat, including sitting on a presidential chair in the Oval Office. Those are thanks. He tries. Now the problem is that his domestic policies have been undermining his foreign image, and he doesn't know what to do. So occasionally he has to come up and sound as if he's really doing something.
And when you talk about domestic policies, one would argue that right now, if you look at the political chairs being played, it's as if we're retreating to what it is we're used to doing very well, and that is going back to our backyard, our tribal politics, and pushing it. Because now one would argue that President Ruto has seen that Mount Kenya is gone. Gachagua has gone with that, and there is no way of getting that back. Hence the reason why issues to do with corruption and knowing who exactly to sacrifice becomes now a conversation. Because on the other hand, his backyard, our President Ruto's backyard, Rift Valley, is in check. Raila Odinga's backyard is in check. So let's these big tribes form a coalition against these other tribes. I don't know. It is a conversation that is happening out there, but is it a conversation that has any basis whatsoever?
Well, in my opinion, given the current times we are living in, that tribal conversation has no basis. And I think it is very unfortunate that sometimes we try to use our cultural heritage to not accelerate ourselves as a country economically and socially, but to divide ourselves more. But I'm glad, on the other hand, that the current generation, the times we are living in, people are very woke. They know, regardless of where I come from, I want a functional government. I want a president, an MP, an MC, an agency that delivers. When they say I'm going to have this service because I paid this money in form of tax, I should get it. It does not matter who is in office. So the question for the 2027 election is not about the tribal balkanization that we have seen these old politicians. Remember, we have these old politicians, not necessarily by age, but by their thinking, led by now the impeached deputy president, thinking that because I come from a certain tribe and we are many in numbers, if we come together, we can form government, and then what? You get? And remember, especially for him, he has a track record of failing and exhibiting poor judgment. He once tried to become the Mount Kenya kingpin when he was in office as a deputy president. That collapsed flat face, you know. When he came out, he's tried to mobilize people from the Mount Kenya region, and unfortunately he's been trying to pit the tribe from the central area as the one tribe that is against this regime and that must make presidency for the country to progress. But that's not the case. The Mount Kenya region are purely an economical and industrial lot, and they know that the the growth of a people in the region depends on the functionality of a government. It is also a good thing that there are many in numbers, so having political interest, they understand. Politics define everything. The how much you get to pay for a cup of coffee, how much you get to pay for the price of sugar and a liter of petrol. So the tribal conversation today has no basis. We should be focusing on an issue-based conversation where we ask ourselves as Kenyans, because we are in a global village and we'll be left behind if all we do is continue with the corruption and poor leadership. What do we want? That's the question we should be asking. Come 2027, what kind of government do we want to form? And I keep calling all this from the president, all these people who are working for the government, that they are our employees. My employee number one is the president as a taxpayer of this country. So 2027 should be, what kind of people do we want to employ and put into office to offer certain services, specifically as defined by the Constitution, so that in time we're able to get over this formation, as Dennis was saying, of commissions to fight corruption. Yet you have all the agencies who are getting paid to do exactly that, so that we avoid a situation where a president comes and says, my parliament is corrupt. Yet these are his people. He's confirming the incompetency.
Right.
So I think the tribal card has no basis, and we should not pay much attention to it, just like we should not pay much attention to the impeached deputy president.
Should we also pay attention to then these current issues, because it got Parliament in a tailspin? That's all they talked about yesterday. The entire nation suddenly is thinking that the administration is very concerned about corruption, which, if we want to double click on that just a little bit, it is very possible that that is not actually the issue. It's called dead cat theory. We're all around a table and we are supposed to be looking at issues that affect a nation, but then somebody comes and they throw a dead cat on the table, and suddenly we're all looking at this dead cat, and meanwhile the rest of the negotiation happens under the table and the two people walk out the room.
I think that may be going on, and I also don't think that the country has bought into that because they can see through it. They wait, what is this?
Yeah.
And that's when they're saying, in fact, when the president talked that way, and then people say, wait a minute, tell us more about it, because it was not believable. And I would agree that Gachagua is not a factor, whether in tribal or whatever. He's not. He's a good exploiter of things, but he's not the factor, because the drifting away from Ruto started long before Gachagua was impeached, so it's got nothing to do with it. I think last year with the Gen Z, they shocked two people, and we are dealing with the repercussions of that shock. One of them was Ruto. He didn't expect it. The signs were there, but then it just came and hit them very hard. The other one was Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga had been the symbol of protests, which didn't go very far anyway, except that he usually got something out of it. Now you have these young people coming from nowhere, and they shock the country. How? And we have been living with those shocks, the repercussions of it. How do you stop these young people anymore? And one of ways of stopping the young people is to play the tribal card and keep on emphasizing it as if they are there to. And unfortunately for them, I think the young people are wiser than their grandparents. They are not buying into that because it's not helping. The services have gone down. It's got nothing to do with a particular tribe. People are not going to school. The university students are not going to universities, despite having so many universities with some unqualified people as teachers.
Don't say what you think, Prof.
But they are still they are there, but the students cannot go because they cannot pay. You go to the health services, and maybe a few people get treated, but many people are complaining. There's no, so that's what's bothering people. What's going on?
Whereas there are so many things that could be paid attention to. The corruption that continues to sit on the shoulders of the country like a monkey is not has never been dealt with, probably not going to be dealt with. You're putting together a stakeholder committee with organs which are supposed to be dealing with this thing anyway, to take away people's attention. And so are Kenyans at this point then wondering, how about we deal with those things that are the issue? We talked about SHA earlier, we talked about health, talk about education, talk about the circulation of the economy, these things that are not working, that leadership essentially is supposed to, at the very least, tweak to make sure that it does work. So are Kenyans asking the questions and saying, hold on a minute, no, don't deal with corruption at the moment, deal with all these other things, and if you do, then you inadvertently deal with the corruption issue. Is that the direction it would be going?
Yeah, that would be the expectation. And Kenyans are saying that. That's why, as Prof says, we are not buying into the corruption story. Because when you look at how this administration has been operating, from day one, they have been plagued by scandal after scandal, misappropriation after misappropriation of resources. So it's only that it has caught up now with the highest, I would say, tire of the administration. But again, as Prof says, remember, Zakayo Washuke started way before the impeachment of the former deputy president. So Kenyans already, we were aggrieved and agitating for, no, we need proper leadership, we need good governance and proper utilization of our resources. That is still the clarion call. And that's why when you see the regime trying to deal with the repercussions of, that tells you that the movement is still on, the revolution is still on for calling for good governance. Because good governance is exactly what you want. If the government is working and functional, then everybody will be executing their duty. So we cannot afford to be diverted. This could be a diversional tactic, as you say, geared to whatever. Maybe time will let us know. But also, I'm well convinced it is more of a strategy towards a political realignment. They must figure out, because if the president and the Right Honorable Odinga are not able to come up with an idea, because they just need a concept to try and marshal their followers, their people, into backing them towards the campaign. Because the campaign season is on. Remember, we have less than 2 years. We have about 700 to go to the ballot. And they're feeling now their time bad. If they're not able to come up with a better formula, then they have to start sacrificing some people so they can start to look as if they're doing good. So we wonder who will be the sacrificial lamb.
Well, it could be diversionary, like you're saying. But Moses Wetangula once said, Prof, it's going to be messy and noisy, and there'll be casualties. And now he's Speaker of the National Assembly. Speaking of casualties, yesterday, I'm just looking at, and I dare say, I don't know whether we're now going to deal with a situation where you have crybabies or not, because two things happened. So one, MPs rejected a proposal, a bill tightening power handover procedures. And so a House team shot down that proposed law, which was aimed at streamlining the transition of power following the election of a new president. The move, according to now what happened, obviously deals a significant blow to President William Ruto's administration's efforts then to legislate stricter transition protocols. At the same time, MPs again shot down Ruto Mbadi order on exclusive tendering via portal. The EGPS by all public entities on the grounds that it contravenes the Constitution. Again, the National Assembly last evening unanimously backed the findings of the Committee on Delegated Legislation and annulled it in its entirety, the same way they did with this other one. And this happened when and the MPs threw this out after it was seconded by the leader of minority in the National Assembly, Junet Mohammed. Are we then likely to see, it's a double-edged sword here. On one hand, it's like we are going on a revenge mission. Anything that comes from the executive, we throw it out in its entirety. Or are we then going to have a proper parliament then that is going to do the checks and balances, and we are going to see them now start working and checking the executive, Prof?
It could be both. Start with Wetangula said yes, it will be messy. Yeah? And I think he's getting ready for the message because there's been rumored that he may be one of the people going out. And so he has to fight to retain his position. And then the behavior of the MPs yesterday, which is unusual, that they could do that. Could it be part of the scheme? That
they are in on this?
Yeah, they could be part of the, they're in there, just say you've rejected, therefore. Because one of the things that the people have complained about is that the MPs are not independent. They are not their own men and women. They wait to be, and the evidence, the president came and said, here's the evidence, we bribe them. They are bribing, they do this and this and this and this. Or somebody bribes them. And so to make the MPs now look as if they are really independent and they are doing things in the national interest, how about reject a few things here and there and be seen to say no? And if that works, then since they know what the ground is, people are not happy with them. Can we start changing the mind frame of the people and think that the MPs are now doing the work they're supposed to do for us instead of condemning them all? So eventually when they do something shady afterwards, maybe we'll have forgotten about it. It could be part of the scheme, but it's that they'll do these things in one day or so, after being insulted. Then they do it kind of a revenge, that you did this, so we are also not going to do this.
Just how far can President Ruto push this? Because, like you rightfully said, Zakayo Shuka, this was before the impeachment of Gachagua. But then after the protests of last year, then there was, and this was also coupled with other things. You have CSs who are showing off expensive watches, expensive belts, expensive shoes, and it's too much. And there was a rallying call: get these people out. We don't want them. Then we saw what the president did, dissolve the entire cabinet. And it almost appeared, okay, you've pacified the situation, so let's wait and see what the president is going to do. Only to realize that, okay, later he brings many of them back anyway. Are we heading into a situation where, and I'm just trying to think politics here, if the president has made this statement 3 times, now by the time he's leaving for Japan, he's put a team together, and this team is purely going to be dedicated to deal with this, with the senators and with the MPs. Are we likely to see a case where if there's a lot of pushback, he may end up dissolving parliament? Because the heat is also on MPs and senators. So to throw this heat off from him, throw this heat to the MPs, dissolve the entire parliament.
It's this is a case of probability. It's probable that he could go that way and end up dissolving parliament. But I think, in my opinion, if he does that, he should just be ready not to vie for 2027. That would be the end of him politically if he does that. But on the flip side, then I'm looking at it and seeing that a lot of opposition for this administration continues to come from within. They impeached the deputy president. That is backfiring. As the prof says, he refused to stay dead politically. He came out during the protests of the Gen Z, and where people were very high calling for austerity measures. He came out, he pronounced himself on the matter, but he did not effect it, because that was one way of trying to curb corruption, talk of opulence and other things, and reducing the wage bill. He did not hold to his word. So even now, moving forward, when he comes out and says, I'm putting up a multi-agency team to try and curb this corruption, I mean, his president's word, unfortunately, is almost not holding much nowadays. So to think that this would give us some result that could revamp again, because when you talk of corruption, unfortunately we keep talking about the money itself, but you look at the moral degradation, corruption of the autonomy of the houses. That is the greatest corruption of all, and then the houses become incompetent. So the rubber stamping of the incompetence is just by finances and money changing hands, but it cuts deeper. That we do not have an administration that is credible, that can be held accountable, that where they say they're going to do this, then we expect in a few days, given the timelines, we may see some report, some commission of inquiry comes together and they give us a report and we can act on it. So I don't know whether he could go that direction of dissolving parliament, and if he does, I think that would be the end of him politically. But also I think we need to understand that this corruption is not just about the money. It's about now the affront of the constitution. Constitution is very clear. The houses should be autonomous. If the government business that is tabled on the floor of the house is not good for the people, the MPs unanimously, they do come to tax exempt themselves or raise salaries, should just reject it. Or if it is good for the people, they should then pass. But I think we have a greater problem. We have a leadership issue. And unfortunately, the pronouncements we continue to hear every day from either from the CSs or from the president himself, they are continuing to build the public, the trust deficit. So I don't see any hope. I don't see the parliament rising to occasion where they can say now we are going to be competent because we've been called to order or because we've been thrown under the bus.
They told the speaker yesterday, we want the president summoned here to explain to us and tell us who are these corrupt MPs.
I live for the day.
We all do. And
when that will happen.
I'm just trying to think of scenarios here.
Right.
So if the president makes the first move and says, okay, we're going to make arrests, or will the MP then arrest the situation and say, look, let's actually summon the president and maybe we might actually even end up impeaching him. Is that a possibility?
Like I said, it's a case of probability. Anything could happen. Remember, he's also coming to address the House maybe later in the year. So it's not very far away from now, just a couple of weeks, maybe 10 or thereabouts. So it's interesting to see how it plays out.
If we talk about what the president has said and what MPs are now doing, one asks the question, who has the upper hand? Is anyone here taking advantage of their positions, because Parliament for a very long time has been the oversight body for the executive, and the executive as well has always been the one that has been controlling Parliament, that for a very long time has been captured by the executive. So as we sit here right now, who has the upper hand? Can anyone in this situation put their money where their mouth is?
Well, I think the president has the upper hand. We are yet to see the Parliament assert itself properly. But if the mood continues that way, then they will be expected to propose a motion of impeachment, because the president seemingly has failed in many things. And when he attacked them, their egos and personalities became the issue. So they are reacting. So one way they can show whether they are serious is to suggest that an impeachment. And it's good they're asking the president to come and answer questions. And if he doesn't answer the questions, what do they do next? Or are they also scared that the police might go to Parliament and have them arrested? Because arrest about 100 of them, then there'll be no Parliament. So as long as the president has the security services under him, he can say it's national emergency, and which would be going a little far. But at present, he has the upper hand. And in terms of propaganda, he's trying to take advantage and to be seen to be the clean fellow, and these others to be. And even when Raila went there and said, remove the CDF, and he said, wait a minute, you are not. Was he being realistic or was he playing games? Because
you kind of have to ask about everything now, don't you?
Yeah, everything they say is questionable. And I remember Olo Ringo said the reason they created CDF is so that he can eat fish in Kisumu without being harassed by people. Because CDF was his campaign money for doing bids to be doing things for the public. And then you are going to remove this. They say, wait a minute, are you out of your mind? And so that's why it appears as if the whole thing is well orchestrated, rather than just being random. And the fact that people are talking about it, instead of maybe
focusing on fellow,
yes, then it's working to that extent.
Quickly from both of you as we wrap up this conversation this morning, because it's all a wait and see kind of thing. Like they say, a day in politics is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day in politics. Who would have known that we would be having this conversation at this time? But what does it look like going in, and what do we ask Kenyans to do?
I think we ask ourselves as Kenyans to remain woke and know that this is our nation, this is our country, and we should own it, and we should hold all the leadership to account. By whatever means necessary, we should continue speaking truth to power.
Prof?
Yeah, I would agree. Vigilance is a very good thing. Ask a lot of questions, and that's why the youth are very good. Keep on asking questions when things are not making sense. And in general, the country will be safe. Don't worry. Especially if the youth are asking questions. The country is safe. If they are quiet, we are in trouble.
If you're quiet, you're in trouble. Definitely remain awake and focused on certain things. That's with the conversation that we're having this morning. Professor Macharia Munene and Joseph Amanya, thank you so much for being here with us this morning into this conversation. They continue. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. I'll take it again on the William Ruto story, where he's thanked Japan for its support in developing various projects in Kenya. Speaking at Yokohama Tiger 9, Japan, Ruto said that our trade ties are equally strong and has seen an increase of 33% support since last year. He added that he had come to an agreement with Japan's president on various developments in areas such as digital jobs and healthcare services, among other sectors.
This investment is feasible in transformative projects such as the Mombasa Port, the Okari geothermal plant, and the automotive assembly infrastructure in Kenya. Today, there are 120 Japanese investors operating in Kenya across diverse sectors, from manufacturing and infrastructure to renewable energy and various technologies. Our trade ties are equally strong. Bilateral trade reached $900 million in 2024, an increase of 33% from the previous year.
Now, former presidential economic advisor Moses Kuria has dismissed claims that he was sacked from President William Ruto's administration, insisting that he resigned from the position on his own free will. Kuria said his decision was based on dissatisfaction with the government's handling of the Sabasaba protests, where people lost their lives and property was destroyed.
I resigned one day after Sabasaba. And I resigned because Sabasaba shattered me. I was actually outside the country and I was on a flight coming. And I was even on the flight because we had, I said, okay, let me just sit on that pedestal whereby I can be able to see things much more clearly, because in any case, that Magunas, that county supermarket in Muranga, does it matter whether it is Wamonyoro people or government people who are burning the supermarket? It wouldn't matter less for those people. So I said, look, there comes a time when some of us, have to start somewhere where really you can be able to answer every question that your conscience asks you.
Korea has also condemned President Ruto for setting up a commission, commended President William Ruto for setting up a commission to investigate corruption issues in the Senate and the National Assembly.
As I'm concerned, any effort that goes to fighting this, scourge of corruption is welcome. So there's no real wasted effort. You cannot say that this is a waste or it's not the right thing to do. And there's no one thing that can be done that will surface that or can, actually replace all the other mechanisms. So I think it is good. I only have two concerns. One, I would have expected the president to name not a whole of government approach, but a whole of society approach. The mere leadership of that team being under the executive office of the president would point to some very worrying situation, because it is actually a team that can sit together.
And he added that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has the right to continue defending the interests of the people of Mount Kenya, but should be given the freedom to do so and support whichever side he feels like.
Of course, I've got other problems with him. Like, he's trying now to come up with this dictatorship within my region, where you say, if you're not with the DCP, you are Kasongo, you are whatever. So, like somebody appointed him a prefect. Yeah. But other than that, I believe that Rigathi Gachagua has every right, to practice his politics in the best way you know how, as long as he is not contravening the law. And I think it behoves upon Kipchumba Murkomen. I have heard him say that they have got information to believe that Rigathi Gachagua wants to commit some crimes, or some people want to commit some crimes around it.
And finally, the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, has announced more than 2 months of traffic disruption affecting motorists along Waiyaki Way, Limuru Road and Mai Mahi Road. KENHA said the temporary closure of Rironi Kamandura interchange and at the junction, set to begin from this Friday to October 31st, paves the way for repairs and construction. The authority therefore advised motorists to use alternative routes to avoid inconveniences. And if you'd love to enjoy the EPL marches, then our stations are licensed to air that for you. That is Berur, as well as Radio Maisha, and here on SpiceFM. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday morning, and having those that matter as we get into it today at this hour. And, folks got their airtime courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. Let's see what the magician will pull out of their hat tomorrow. But there's another magician to my right today, and you're still telling us how we can connect.
And you know how all magicians have a wand? For some reason, I have a pen.
You have a pen.
All right. So, this month, great things are happening. Well, the cold is not one of them. But if you're staying indoors and you've got your heater and you're all sorted, you just can't have cold, blackout, and you don't have internet. Those three things can go together. So I'm going to give you a deal. How about if you love staying indoors and you enjoy great internet, I give you a good deal. Safaricom Home Fiber Internet Connection. Now, this is for new customers only. This deal is simple. You get double the speeds at 25% discount for any plan of your choosing. We've got bronze, silver, gold, and diamond plans. So what does this plan then entail? The welcome package comes in with a free router and zero installation fee. So any part of this country where you want this connection, you get it done so fast. Safaricom make sure that you have that. Why is this important? It's not just enjoying great speeds. It's also reliability. That's what we're also going for. So if you're online working or you just simply enjoy high-speed web browsing, enjoy watching your movies. Yesterday I had folks at my place who are watching a series the entire day and I think the entire night. I saw people at my place sleeping, I think around 1 or 2.
And then you still
they were just enjoying it. And I'm upstairs doing my own stuff and enjoying great internet. So all you need to do is simply dial *400# or visit my Safaricom app to get connected today. Remember, this offer is valid to new customers only, and you have 11 days to go. Runs out 31st of August. Feels good to be home with Safaricom Home Fiber.
Indeed, it does. And make your connections getting that today. And a big thank you to letting people talk more, courtesy of Safaricom Home Fiber. Dr. Bill Morioki is the KMPDU Regional Secretary, Central Kenya. He's in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Dr. Sari, good morning.
Morning, Do.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Quite a chilly morning.
It is.
Maybe that's why I came to the hot seat.
It is true. If anything, we'll deliver the heat.
Bring it.
All right. You're here because it could actually make its way into the Guinness Book of World Records. And it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in just a minute. And we're going to give you some work to do because Dennis went to Zambia. He's brought something back. He'd like to know what you think about it.
Yeah, Zambia, population of 20 million people. We're talking about over 70 ethnic groups, and official language being English that is used in school, businesses and government, but widely spoken languages as well in terms of the communities there. We have the Bemba, we have the Nyanja, Ochewa, Tonga, Lozi, Lunda, Kaunde and Luvale. Don't mistake those names to be coming from the western part of the country. No, those are for Zambians, right? But let's go to our proverb today. A small tick can cause great sickness. A small tick can cause great sickness. How would you interpret that?
I think what I'd get from that is most problems usually start very insidiously. So you tend to want to ignore problems when they're small. But if you ever look back at any big problem, there were clear warning signs from the word go. So that's how I'd take it.
Good. There were small problems from the word go. Yeah. You should have looked into them. All right. What's happening in Kiambu? It's a very basic, rudimentary question, but hey, let's go with that sometimes, no?
Sometimes I also ask myself the same question, what's happening in Kiambu? Because Kiambu is the second largest county in terms of like the budget size it has, population size it has. So essentially Kiambu is, a heartbeat away from being the center of the country. So in Kiambu we currently have a strike that has now reached 12 weeks today, 84 days. That's the longest strike since the history of devolution. The current record is held in the 2016 strike for 100 days. So we are heading towards now even putting all strikes together. Kiambu beating that record, unfortunately.
12 weeks.
Yeah, 84 days.
84 days, but the other one was 100 days.
But that's at the national strike.
That's at the national, not at the county level. All right, I thought my math had done a doozy on me. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, but the problem is not a strike. A strike, as a doctor, I'll tell you, is like a symptom of something underlying. When you see a strike, there's a problem that now that is manifesting as people going on strike. So what we have in Kiambu is essentially just a collapse of the healthcare system to a level where doctors who we tend to look at ourselves as the guardians of our healthcare system in its entirety just had to down its tools back in May. And since May, we're still on strike. Hospitals are not functioning, hospitals are not working, services are not being rendered, and we have a county government that is just comfortable, just passing time.
What are your demands as doctors to the county government, and have you at any point had discussions to solve these problems, and if so, if not, why? If so, mmefika?
Yeah, so the strike actually originated from a previous strike in 2024 where the return to work agreement was signed back in May 2024. Many counties implemented what had been agreed, but unfortunately for Kiambu it did not. So starting from that point, you move to late 2024 where we try to go for conciliation. Conciliation is where the Ministry of Labour sends like professionally trained conciliators to bring people together. It's kind of like therapy for warring parties. Unfortunately, they did not show up for that. So then again, we tried direct engagement with the county all the way in early 2025. And when it came to May 2025, this was now a year later, we had no other choice. So we gave a 21-day strike notice, which is 3 times longer than what even the law requires you to do, because we really didn't even want to go on strike. We just wanted engagement and a way forward, because these things had already been agreed upon. However, the county did not engage at all. In fact, 0 meetings, 0 communication. What they did was on the eve of the strike, the day before, they rushed to court because they wanted to get a court order barring the strike. Unfortunately, I think judges have become wise enough to know these gimmicks that county governments do. So instead of giving orders ex parte, which is just giving orders without listening to both parties, the judge was quite wise to say, bring both parties, I want to listen to them. And when the judge listened to the issues, he actually dismissed the entire case by the county government, rendering the strike legal. Now after that, we've now been in a protracted strike that is protected by law. Whereby, again, the Ministry of Labour stepped in again saying, okay, this time are you serious for conciliation? The county has come. Again, we've agreed in principle on all the 10 issues. I can go through them if you'd want me to. However, ending the strike seems to be a problem for them because, unfortunately, one thing we did is, I'm saying unfortunately, but it's still the right thing to do, is we decided this strike we will do it differently. We offered what we called a minimum service protocol, which means as much as doctors are going on strike, we will give a doctor from the union, a member of the union, to be at the emergency service sections of every hospital to make sure that if anything happens, an accident, any emergency service, someone comes in labor, at least they can be seen by a doctor, stabilized, and then referred to another facility. Now, that is good because it protects life and limb. Unfortunately, if you have an intransigent employer, they can get comfortable with that, right?
After all, people are not dying.
People are not dying, exactly. So as much as we've been engaging and we've been having discussions and we've agreed on the issues, which were already agreed upon anyway, they seem to be a bit comfortable with that. So that's why you can see we are now like on the 12th week.
My question is, you earlier said hospitals in Kiambu, nothing is happening.
Yeah.
What's the impact then on patients in terms of health service delivery? What's happening?
Yeah, so
people moving out of the county to other places. What's going on?
Yeah, so what we are seeing with our hospitals, because we look at weekly reports from the hospitals, the wards are empty essentially. You can't get any form of advanced treatment. So yes, you can be stabilized, but if you needed, for example, an operation after that or something scheduled, you'd have to go to the neighboring counties of Murang'a, Nakuru, Nairobi. A lot of people are coming to Nairobi now to seek treatment. The other problem you're seeing is because you don't have enough staff, even the level of care is not that good. Because remember, our hospital system works on like a pillar of doctors at different levels. So even if I'm stabilizing a patient at casualty, you want a very senior consultant to be around and on call in case that emergency is quite a serious emergency. So we are also seeing increased levels of mortality. For example, Roiro Level 4 Hospital, before this strike, had no maternal mortality. This is a mother dying during childbirth, which is something that should never happen in the year of our Lord 2025. During this strike, we've lost 2 mothers, unfortunately. Same to Thika. 0 maternal mortalities. During this strike, we have had 2 at the Thika maternity. And these are numbers that we had gotten to a point of eradicating completely. So mortalities have gone up. I think, Dennis, you saw... let me just mention the name because he's a public figure. The comedian who used to imitate Rigi G.
Oh, yes.
He died at Kiambu Level 5.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel bad bringing up prominent people, but the people who everybody know. But everybody who dies is a prominent person to their loved ones, right? They are loved. They're appreciated, they mean something, they have memories together. So, but as much as I bring up these names, and I think also you saw the story of a gentleman with his grandchild crying at Igegania Level 4.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was also during this strike at Kiambu.
All of these horrific things are happening during the period of this strike, because I was going to ask you, so then what's happening at the hospitals? But, by your own admission, you've talked about empty wards. People are not coming here. Say for an emergency situation where there is a begging for somebody to do something about that. And so we're talking about level 5s, level 4s from Thika to Kiambu itself, and then, across board, Tigania, this area. All of this is not happening, and there's comfortability from what you say from the county government in terms of, okay, well, nobody's dying, but except they are. Nothing is really moving, except it is. And from what you're also saying, that essentially the ball is in the court of the county government to now move the needle. Is that the case?
Yes. Because essentially, when you go on strike, 2 people must engage, right? And as much as we've come to the table, we've agreed on these issues, the county must then come and say, okay, fine, let's sign on this agreement, and we start the process of implementing it. But then when you just decide, you know what, we have more important things to attend to, we have a devolution conference where we want to go showcase our small piglets that we give our farmers, and trying to manage the situation almost like a PR nightmare more than like an actual problem you need to solve. So they come out with statements explaining, this person, why they died is because of this or this incident. Like I think last week there was a lady who had come to a hospital with a pregnancy, and the child inside had succumbed, unfortunately. We call it an IUFD. And in such a case, you need to deliver the dead infant. And the mother had stayed there for a long time. Right? They should have this attended to. And someone recorded the video and brought it up on social media. And they have a team of bloggers and PR specialists who come out, bring out these statements, addressing what specifically that issue had to do with, instead of just addressing what the issue is. I mean, Kiambu is a place where very many people, even in Nairobi, live in Kiambu. Anything can happen to you while you're in Kiambu. So it is almost a matter of national importance that Kiambu, as the second largest county, should be up and running. Otherwise, you can't talk about universal healthcare, you can't talk about all these other big programs you want to roll out when you have such a big, important part of the country that is not working.
Okay, so what are you all asking for?
So our issues ranged from several things, but the first one was actually employing more doctors. Okay. Because if you look at the ratios of doctor to citizens in Kiambu, it's one of the lowest, even in the region. Like, we're not even comparing it with a modern day developed Norway or Sweden, but if you compare it, for example, with like Njeri, that's 1 doctor for every 5,000 citizens. People like Muranga are down to like 1 doctor to 5,000. Kiambu is almost 1 to 9,000, 10,000 doctors, right? Because Kiambu has 300 doctors for a population that is almost 3 million. And the worst thing about Kiambu is there's a lot of inflow of people in and out of Kiambu. And the problem of shortage of doctors is actually a problem at very many levels. One, it's about patient safety. If you are to board a plane, Dennis, and you are told this pilot, since Monday, has just been in the air, on the runway, on the air, I think most people would say there's no emergency worth risking my life to fly with this kind of fatigued pilot. So when you have a shortage of doctors, that's the first problem that happens. The second thing that happens is you start finding people suffering from burnout. Kiambu is the same county that we've lost, just in the same 1 year, we've lost 2 doctors to suicide. There was a girl, a female doctor in Gatundu, if you remember. There was also another doctor in Fika level 5. These are hospitals in Kiambu. And these are the ones who become prominent because they've had to take their own lives. But we have a lot of people who have succumbed.
For somebody who doesn't know, why did they take their lives?
Yeah, and you look at if you look at the specific issues why they, for example, if you read the letters they left, it's someone who becomes troubled at different levels. Your salary is late, you're facing a lot of social embarrassment where your houses are being closed, there's a lot of breakdown because remember you're working 76-hour shift. You can imagine having a spouse, and the last time I saw you, today is Wednesday, the last time I saw you was Sunday night.
Oh, hold on. 76 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that...
I can tell you how a 76-hour shift looks like now.
Let's do it. Okay.
I come to work on Monday morning, fresh.
What time?
Give or take, I'll be honest, maybe a few minutes before 9.
Okay, 9 o'clock Monday morning.
I enter, I do my work. At around 5, people who are going home go home. I remain because I'm the one working at night. Right? So
you're 9 a.m. still working at night?
Yes, I entered in the morning.
Yes.
But if someone comes at 8 p.m., for example, it's still me who will stabilize them.
Okay.
We go to theater. So, and that is me the whole night. Then in the morning, the same people who went home find me again.
At 9 a.m.?
Yes, at 9 a.m.
Okay. So we're now Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.?
Now Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I'm there.
Okay.
If I'm lucky, I have a car. Maybe I have some few things I can freshen up in the car. If I'm not lucky, I have maybe a room I've left a few things there that I can just freshen up. People come. I'm the one who was there at night, so I tend to even be busier because I know everything that happened. And as people work during the day, they go home. But then there's a night shift to be covered. So I remain.
You're still here?
Yeah.
It's now Tuesday, 9
this is
p.m.
Tuesday now, 9 p.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
That's Wednesday.
Now that's now Wednesday morning. Now on Wednesday morning when you come to work, you find, Aseto is still here. So tell us about Tuesday night and what happened. So there's this patient, we took him to surgery, they need another surgery, I'm going to scrub in for that. Luckily for you now at Wednesday around 4:30 is where now you can go home. That's a 76-hour
a.m.
shift. Or p.m.
So now we've gone to Wednesday, 4:30.
Now that's a 76-hour shift.
Okay. Why are you doing this?
And that's because of the shortage I'm talking about. Because the problem is once there are not enough doctors, you face a problem where if you're not there, what happens? A reasonable employer would say, you know what, I don't have enough staff. We've not invested in enough capacity. Just close the facility for the night.
Dr. Morioki, just hold on before we even go to reason. So from 9 a.m. on Monday morning until Wednesday at 4:30, this is not a Dr. Morioki thing. This is what the normal case is amongst doctors? All right.
And with rotas that clearly spell this out.
That means be on shift for these hours.
You know, the thing with a rota, I can give it to you and someone can call you and ask who should be on call. And someone will say, it's Okari who should be on call. Right? They're looking at a rota that clearly has Okari from Monday to Wednesday
at 4.
Right. So
all right.
It's not Okari going out of his way to be generous to the public.
I'm just going to hang out here because I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, I'm bored. Or I'm trying to avoid going home. No.
I need the brownie point.
I love my job.
All right. So during these hours, you know, TV has spoilt us. Because we would imagine that, you know, there's an on-call room somewhere, then you can go take a nap for maybe like an hour. You take a power nap, freshen up, do the business. Does that happen?
Unfortunately, most of these facilities don't have call rooms. Some have rooms that used to be call rooms back in the 90s, but then they're not places you can actually sleep. So what most doctors tend to do is, because you're lucky enough to have a car, is you retreat to your car for a couple of hours.
But you're on call.
Yeah, you can't even leave. Because remember, if something happened and someone can come and say, Dr. Ndu was around, we called her, she took 45 minutes to come, we lost the patient. Now that's a disciplinary that begins there. So as much as you're resting in your car, you really need to still be around. So you, put your chair down. If you're lucky, you can get maybe an hour or two of sleep, if that's a calm night. But again, as I said, Kiambu has so many people, you'll rarely find nights that are really calm. Because even if you look at the numbers, for example, Thika Level 5 has just its maternity department has numbers that, if you look at the deliveries per year, has numbers that rival Pumwani, which is an entire hospital, which is an entire maternity hospital. So for you to even imagine you'll get a couple of hours of sleep, that's very unlikely.
Actually, there's a hospital, I will not mention the name, where I found this nurse that I know. So I was going in to see a patient, and I stayed for a very long time. And in the morning again, I was making another trip, and I'm parking my car, and 3 cars are next to me. I see her coming out, and I'm like, good morning again. Like, yeah, good morning. So I later look at her, and I'm thinking, you need coffee. The way you look, you need coffee. She's like, Dennis, I've not slept. Kumbe, she had gone to the car to catch a nap, the parking, then go back to hospital. No time to even go home. She didn't look okay. And I was trying to imagine, if you're going for a procedure or you're going to attend to a patient and you look like you seriously need coffee, you look like you seriously need a shower, how are you going to treat these patients? Do patients know the gravity of these issues you're raising? For example, their working hours and all that. Do they even know?
I'd say to a certain extent they know. Because sometimes they can tell. There are even patients who will tell you, Daktari, naona leo watu ni wengi. That's a polite Kenyan way of saying, I can see you're fatigued. But also remember, Dennis, the people who come to these facilities, public facilities, are people with not very many options.
Yeah.
Right? Like if my father's clinic is at Gatondo Level 5, and that's why we come, I have no other choice. So if this is a doctor who has to see us, they have to see us. They as much as I might empathize with them, it's not someone who feels like they have the option of saying, you know what, this is not good enough for me. Let me just, I don't know, go to the nearest AR or avenue.
So does the patients know you've established that? But now let's get it back to the responsibility bearers, right? So here's a question where now is the county your employer? And this is a situation where budgets have been put in place. Doctors are supposed to be in office. You've issued your strike notice and you're now in this strike. Does the county really care about its citizens, its doctors, and the services that ought to be given, reading that together with the government's position on universal healthcare?
I think the problem we get as especially healthcare workers is we are trapped in between, we are the service givers, right? But then there's a mentality, especially around the political class, that healthcare doesn't generate enough political currency for you. So, for example, if you're made governor, I know you're from the coastal region, so let's make you governor of Kilifi, for example, and you have a budget to work with. Lots of people will encourage you to build a big building, build a new wing, because that's something people can see, or even better, build roads, build things that people can see. In Kiambu, the idea is really to distribute piglets to farmers. So the governor literally goes giving small pigs to farmers, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like that's not to take away anything from agriculture. However, what the failure is of understanding here is people go to hospitals to seek a doctor. In fact, if the doctor is even sat beneath a tree, people will still go queue. Right? You see many people even forming WhatsApp groups, raising money to go to India. They never go to India to look at its roads, its airports. They go to look for a particular doctor who can do this operation for my mother. Then we come home and recuperate. Now, if you take your budget and you employ more doctors, nurses, clinical officers, nutritionists, there's a feeling within the political class that that's things that you cannot recover politically, right? Very many people won't have the nuance of understanding that, oh, this governor has really invested in a very, very good neurosurgeon, and now you don't have to go to India. That's something that we need to awaken within our political consciousness, even as a people, that people can say, that hospital looks the same way, but it functions very differently. It has medication, for example. It has equipment. I'm not being sent out for an imaging scan, then bring it back to the doctor. So from the employer's point of view, they know it. It's just that within middle management, they also struggle to convince the political class. And within the political class, it requires a mindset of understanding that there are things you need to do and invest in, and that's development. Because, Dennis, if you don't have, for example, a psychiatrist in a rural village, give or take Kiamba in Kiambu, the people there, the old shushus and grandpas with Alzheimer's, dementia, that's their biggest problem. Right? Like if you want to go tarmac the road or paint the road, that's not what that community is suffering from. They just want somewhere they know there's a new dentist there. Now I can go get my dentures there. I can use the same Maram road that I normally use, but that to me, you've really changed my life. So that's the kind of conversations we really now need to start embracing when it comes to the political class especially.
But the bigger problem also is we've seen from the Auditor General reports situations where you'll find a county has specialized equipment, but you have no specialist.
Exactly.
And we're not talking about 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We're talking about a financial year of like 2020 from 2020. That there is an equipment that was bought. It's lying somewhere in a store in a hospital. It's covered. It's in dust. And there is nobody to operate it.
Exactly.
So it's not even now. It's a question of having what is priority, have personnel first, then equipment later. And here's a situation where you have equipment, then you're launching the equipment, then the people are saying, oh, now we've got equipment has come to our county, and then that story is forgotten. Is that what's happening in the counties?
Yeah, and you'll see the two major equipment schemes for healthcare equipment, they don't become things that are generated from the users up. Because I'll tell you, for example, Thika level 5, you require a headlamp to do a certain procedure. Headlamp is, I think you've seen it even is where you have like the big torch and you wear. That thing is like what, 13, 14, 15,000. But the people procuring this equipment are going to procure and push things down. So as Dennis says, you end up with things that there's either no personnel for that or it requires certain other things that you did not consider.
Or even a specialized room. Maybe you need to design a room differently because of what you're putting in there, like X-ray machines, MRI scans.
Or you bring the equipment, it works, but then it requires, for example, films.
And then you don't have those.
Then you don't have films because the county didn't budget for films because they were not part of what you guys agreed. And maybe the thing I'm trying to say here silently, but anybody who's clever would pick it up, there's a tendency to lean towards things that have transactional value more than service delivery. Because if you look at equipment, if you look at buildings, these are things with large contracts and tenders. These are things that you probably deal with 1 or 2 people in rooms. But if you are to hire, for example, 100 new doctors, 200 new nurses, this is not as any Kenyan would understand what I'm trying to say. It's not as lucrative as. So it really requires you to go over and beyond just those simplistic political calculations and think what is right here to be done.
What is right here to be done? Dr. Bill Muriuki is the KMPDU Secretary General, Central Kenya. The longest strike at the county level, longest strike ever at the county level since devolution came in. And the questions are being asked in terms of, okay, so what's it going to take to get doctors back into the hospital? Is the county government aware? So let's talk about that when we come back from this short break. It's 24 minutes to 10. Begin in a bit.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
A little sharing goes a long way with Safaricom.
Dad, thanks for helping me find those shoes on IG this morning. Your internet shopping skills are on point.
Of course. Mimi ni yule msee. And thanks for sending me that TikTok dance. Ati mnasemaga it slapped me?
Aki, Dad, no one says that.
Mom, thanks for the call before the quiz. Who knew you'd be so good at remembering those dates?
Well, I do try. And thanks for sharing those hilarious memes on the family WhatsApp group. I needed the laugh. My day was going sideways.
And when they come home, the connection gets even better.
Guys, the show is starting. Are you guys ready?
Just a minute. Let me finish this online course.
Almost done with my game, Dad.
Just after I beat you.
It feels good to share with Safaricom Family Share from Safaricom Home. You can now enjoy a home fiber connection with a voice, data, and SMS plan that can be shared with up to 5 members of your family. Experience the convenience of paying for your home internet and mobile plan on one bill. And what's more, you get up to 20% off on your mobile connection with more value for you and your family. Dial *400# or go to My Safaricom app to add Family Share to your Safaricom.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Morning.
All right, continuing with this conversation this morning, and we're looking into the woes that are facing Kiambu County, and this is now from the medical care perspective. Dr. Bill Morioki is our guest this hour. He is the KMDPU Secretary, Regional Secretary, Central Kenya, and it's clear that there's a problem. And but the two sides are no longer talking to each other. What is it going to take to have this sorted out? The governor of the county has had talks with doctors, but they seem to have reached a stalemate. Or there have been no talks at all?
Weirdly, and this is actually a big failure politically, the governor has never engaged us.
Really? You've never had a conversation?
None, zero. Which is what is making the strike drag on. Because if you look at other strikes, after a few days, the governor usually steps in. And the good thing with the governor, because he's the one who bears the political mandate and has all the executive power, he can decide to make things move. If you don't engage people, the people who we go for meetings with, sit with, they're also promising you things they are not sure whether they can really deliver, because remember, they've just been appointed, and in Kiambu they tend to be kept on very short contracts. So they're also not on very secure footing. So it's for a strike to last as long as it has, it's tantamount to political incompetence, to be honest. It means you cannot bring together people, solve an issue, and have a conversation. So yeah, we've not met the governor. Yeah.
Is it possible that the solution may lie with him and the people who work around him? Is it possible?
Yeah. Ultimately, the solution has to come down to him, because the people of Kiambu elected him to run the executive of Kiambu. And what we've done, and what this strike is now exposing, is we are really testing our constitution, because we are putting to test all the institutions that have been put up to safeguard devolution. So we have a petition to the Senate. The Senator of Kiambu, in fact, Senator Karungo Wadhangwa, has even made a statement on this, and the Senate Health Committee, it's just that they're now in recess. They plan to summon the governor. We've made a petition to the National Assembly, the Health Committee under Honorable James Nikal. They're also looking into this. We've met the elected leaders, because they also have been elected by the same people. This is everybody from the majority leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, Alice Ng'ang'a, all these MPs from Kiambu. These are your constituents. We've made a petition to the county assembly, which again exposes some weaknesses of devolution, because you wonder, as a county assembly, this is literally the job people elected you to do. There's a health committee within the county assembly of Kiambu. How do you have hospitals shut for 3 months, and you wake up in the morning and you say you go to work to represent?
Not a single word.
Yeah. No, not from the governor, not from the county assembly. So this strike will...
Where are they going to hospital themselves?
Unfortunately, they never go to those hospitals. In fact, I can give you an anecdotal story that happened. I think early August, the governor decided to just randomly show up to a hospital. He shows up to Wangige. Wangige is in Kabete constituency. Yeah. He enters and asks, what's happening here? Because the thing is completely empty. I mean, a whole ward, there are only 2 female patients at the end. So where are people? It's like going to a school and the school is completely quiet and there are no students. Are they away? So he asks, okay, let's go to the male wing. And when you want to go to the male wing, you're even told, don't even bother. In fact, men have such poor health-seeking behaviors. If female patients are 2, then men, definitely, that ward is even closed.
Can't remember when they came.
Yeah. So you end up in a situation where even as a member of county assembly, why don't you just walk into your local hospital and ask, okay, you know what, when's the last operation that was done in this theater? Where are my people going to? Right? Like I can go around talking about development and attending church functions every Sunday, but that's not what people elected you to do.
So when he went to that hospital, he was shocked that there were no people?
Yeah. In fact, and I'm happy that he was shocked, because if he was not shocked, then it would mean we're dealing with someone who doesn't care. I think we're dealing with someone who might not really understand what is happening on the ground. That tends to sometimes happen with leaders where your middle-level management do not really tell you what's happening. Because if you hear a governor asking you, where are patients? It means he's expected to see patients.
Yeah.
Right? So he was definitely shocked. And even when you ask for the numbers, a hospital that delivers around 230 mothers every month, you're being told since the strike we've only delivered 30. Where are all those people, Dennis?
Doc.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the situation at ground. We've handled the county is not listening. The doctors are not here. But then there are the patients who are not showing up even in hospital because they know the hospitals are not working. But then again, what KMPD has done is you have these doctors on call to at least help in the emergency services. And one would assume the conversations that they're having with the Wananchi who are seeking the services. So what are the patients, the residents of Kiambu who come to these hospitals say? What do they want to see done?
Yeah, no, in fact, I personally have received a lot of letters from residents of Kiambu, people writing to my office because, and I understand, they would assume we are the reason that they're not getting services. So most write, why did you go on strike? When are you coming back? And I tend to reply to every letter we get. And when I reply, we are now starting to see people starting to take up petitions to the High Court because the Constitution guarantees your right to healthcare. And if the county government is coming in between that, then you need to petition all the institutions that can intervene in this issue, and they need to step in. So the residents are starting to get agitated. There's a sense of things are not well. In fact, constantly there. I think the other day we saw, I'm forgetting the exact hospital, but there was a big fight because someone is saying, if there's nothing happening here, tell us, we go home. There's no need for you to keep us here. And he had engaged in some scuffle that was it was recorded on camera, him just being upset, beating up a few people there. So you can tell the anger is starting to boil up. And this is the unfortunate thing with healthcare, because healthcare, you cannot cover up rot within the healthcare system. Unfortunately, you can cover rot within many sectors, but healthcare, nobody dies quietly. They are loved by people. They are known by people. That pain remains with the family somewhere. So once you keep it going, you cannot continue as if nothing is happening. So what we are seeing is things are starting to get to a point where even people are going to the Ministry of Health. In fact, the cabinet secretary now wants to pull out all the interns, any learning students that are there. And this is not just doctors. Remember, even nurses, clinical officers, all the interns are going to be pulled out. University institutions like KU, their medical students usually train, because it's in Kiambu County, they go to hospitals such as Kiambu Level 5, Thika Level 5. Now, in fact, just this week, they've signed a new agreement with KUTRH. So even universities are pulling out of Kiambu, because if there's nothing happening, so many people are being affected by this. And this is an issue where we now want to take it to the highest offices in the land, because at the end of the day, this matter is bigger than any one individual.
Dr. Bell, what specific concessions will break this deadlock today?
We've really considered on a lot of things. For example, the right number of doctors to hire were 200 more doctors. The county, we've agreed they hire 77. We're okay with 77 for now. So the agreement we had signed last year for promotions of doctors, let me just say what promotions are. As a doctor, you've gone to school for 6 years. You do internship for 7. At that point, you're a general practitioner. So you're working for Kiambu. But then if you want to become a neurosurgeon, you go back for another 6 years.
Okay, hang on. 6 years plus 7?
6 years plus a year of internship.
Okay, so then it becomes 7.
Yeah, so you're a general practitioner.
Yeah.
Now, the Public Service Commission has a scheme of service that shows you when you're a general practitioner, this is how much you should be paid, this is your salary and whatnot. But then you decide, I want to specialize and become a neurosurgeon. That requires you to go back to school for another 6 years. to do neurosurgery now. When you're done with that neurosurgery, you need to then do a further internship on that neurosurgery for another 2 years. So this is someone who's been to school for 14, 15 years now at this point. This is barring anything happening. University striking, getting pregnant, any deferment. So give it 15 years. And then you find a county like Kiambu is paying that neurosurgeon as a general practitioner.
How much are we talking about?
In terms of the difference in money? A general practitioner, and the difference would be even like 150,000 in terms of the difference in the salaries between those two.
Before getting to the difference, gross salary for this general practitioner, how much is it?
Gross salary would be around 200 and something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's gross.
That's gross.
So then the difference between whatever that general practitioner is earning to the neurosurgeon is the difference is now 150.
To the neurosurgeon now, their gross would be like 500 and something.
So,
but that's according to the public service. And remember, your colleague who you are with in neurosurgery school works for Moranga and is recognized as a neurosurgeon, is paid as a neurosurgeon, but then now you're still paid as a general practitioner.
Yet you're a neurosurgeon.
You're a neurosurgeon. In fact, they give you the work of doing neurosurgery cases. Right? So the work you're doing in the facility, people know, oh, go to Tigoni level 4. Dr. Ndu, we have a very good pediatric or an oncologist there. So they know you are an oncologist, but when it comes to your payslip and your designated papers, they'll pay you as if you're a doctor who finished school in 2022.
Sounds illegal to me.
It is illegal. And that's why when you go to strike, they usually concede on that because that's just so unprofessional. And in 2024 strike, that's one of the things they agreed to, but they never implemented it. So that's, for example, something that initially when we went on strike, our initial demand was these promotions need to be done immediately. Go print those letters, recognize people as per the title of what they've studied and what they are good at. But now we've considered we are even ready to give them a few more 6 weeks to do it, right? So we've really moved on every single issue. The only problem is there's just a certain level of just being comfortable with the situation as is, because as long as it's not there in the public media, it doesn't bother them.
We've had strikes in other counties.
Yes.
But we've not had one that has been so prolonged like this one.
Exactly.
Where, let's hit the nail on its head.
Yeah.
Who's the problem here?
Unfortunately, in our assessment, what tends to happen with strikes, as I said, like Nairobi had a strike recently.
Yes.
You go for a few days, I think 30 days, you call up Governor Sakaja. He says, let's meet, let's talk. What do you need done? I can do that. Give me time. Let me put that in next year's budget. The strike is done. We don't have that with Kiambu. We have a situation where even elected leaders have spoken out about this, but the county is just a bit hesitant, a bit comfortable.
So you guys call Wamatangi and he doesn't pick your calls?
He would not meet you. In fact, even to his fellow colleagues, he doesn't meet them. Because I'd always, as I was saying off air, I'd always assume as a political leader, you have personal friends amongst political leaders. So when we try to go through fellow political leaders to talk to the guy, this is something so easy to solve. In fact, in the history of Kiambu, all their governors, including Governor Waititu, we usually say including Governor Waititu because we consider him as one who had a lot of challenges, would have solved this strike. Because as a political leader, this is your specialty, bringing people together, managing situations, talking to people. And that's why if it requires us to go to the highest levels, to all the courts, to all the Senate and all the petition, nothing will move. Because now once you see the Ministry of Health even threatening to shut down hospitals in Kiambu, it will get to a point where you now cannot use bloggers and PR machines to cover the situation. Remember, they are losing a lot of revenue because at county level, healthcare gives you the most revenue. People are going there, they're paying, SHA is reimbursing you. So other than just a difficulty in personal ego, this is something that is very easy to solve.
Is the Council of Governors, especially the Health Committee, the Council of Governors, picking up this matter, or is it also silent at that level?
We've not gone to the Council of Governors. We've spoken to direct governors. You'd expect them to talk to one of their colleagues. Unfortunately, even that hasn't gotten us a breakthrough, and that's why we really want to put a lot of public pressure, because politicians respond to politics, and we need the politics to now become untenable. For you to just become comfortable with your hospitals shut for 3 months, surely. Just because you don't go to those hospitals doesn't mean people don't go to them. So we are waiting for His Excellency to come back from Japan. And that's the next level we'll have to go to, because now at this level, even he has a political mandate to intervene in such a scenario, because all these people have been elected by the people of Kiambu.
These things hinge around resources, money, and people and places. The 10 issues that you're saying brought to the table, that at the very least, some of them should be ticked off, and not even in its entirety, because you say, okay, hire 200 more doctors, we're ready to go with 77. All right, so give an increase here and there. You're ready to take a reduced amount, even on that demand. What would preclude the county government from acquiescing to some of these things? Do they not have enough money? Do they not? Because you must have heard the chatter that they must have said, well, this is the reason why this, and it surely cannot be that it is because Governor Wamatangi does not have a minute to address the issue in his out tray.
I think the problem becomes, because of mismanaging health for several years now, you have this fear within the system, now within Kiambu, that if you give doctors what they want, the next thing you'll see is a strike notice by nurses. Because remember, doctors are fighting for things that also nurses, just the same way I can give you numbers, nurses have their own issues, and you just then now need to decide to address these issues. So their perspective is giving in shows weakness, and that weakness will really undo a lot of other things they want to do, and their goal is to really not show any weakness, because they know it opens up another door that they might not be able to deal with at that point.
You know, there's an issue here. Every year you have graduates, and there are conversations around how many of these graduates, cutting across different professions, who are then absorbed into the job markets. Now, to be specific here now, I don't know whether you have the numbers of how many medical students graduate every year. We have so many colleges and universities around. Do you guys have figures? Do you have figures of how many every year?
Unfortunately, the numbers also keep going up because
of rapid expansion.
Exactly, of universities. Yeah, but we're talking of students in thousands.
In thousands?
In thousands, yeah.
What's the absorption rate?
The absorption rate is not that high, because first, after school there's a point of internship.
Yes.
You've also seen us having a lot of issues around interns. So first you need to do internship. Without that you can't get a license to practice. Now after that, the absorption rate within the public sector is so low that a lot of people are now moving towards the private sector. I think you've seen a lot of healthcare chains, AR, Avenue, opening up hospitals everywhere. So that's where most doctors are now going to. Yet a few years ago, even just 10 years ago, almost 80-90% would go into the public service.
Sure.
Yeah, but now most people would be working at these hospital chains that you're seeing.
Or even out of the country.
Or even out of the country, yeah. Especially out of the country now. Yeah.
Is this something that is worrying the leadership there is? Because you look at doctors going into private practice, that means citizens who majority go to private facilities will not have doctors. And as we just speak in terms of from a policy aspect, not just Kiambu, but from the national government in ensuring that our hospitals are well staffed with enough doctors to be able to meet the population pressures that does exist. Would you say it is a priority not just for Kiambu but for the government to ensure we have enough doctors?
I think it's an interesting discussion when it comes to policy level, because you see the government really focusing on health. They focus on things like UHC, SHA, but health has 7 pillars. There are things like financing, there are things like the personnel. And when it comes to having enough doctors, they consider training doctors as the checkbox has been done. We have more doctors in the country. However, the thing is, you need doctors in public service, because again, if you have a good public healthcare system, you don't even need to spend money on private healthcare. So it saves people in so many different ways. If you could go back to the days where someone would know going to Kenyatta is probably the best option for you, then you don't need to save an arm and a leg. You're constantly being added to WhatsApp groups for someone's fundraising because they need some care, that someone has died and the first bill you need to raise for is for the hospital bill. So all these problems would be solved for everybody, not even just the sick person. So as a policy issue, I think we're still not hitting the nail on its head properly, because we are addressing only aspects of healthcare. either the health insurance aspect. Sometimes we're discussing the financing, the equipment part, but personnel is at the heart of what people seek.
Usually they say there's this tunnel, and right at the end of it there is a shiny light peephole. Is there one here?
Yes, unfortunately we are making the tunnel unnecessarily long because at the end of the day the strike is legal, it's protected by court. The doctors are determined to fix this issue once and for all. We believe we will get these things eventually. No, why are we waiting for another week? Why are we waiting to hit 100 days, 120 days?
Why are we waiting for another hour?
Yeah, why are we in studio instead of being at the governor's office finishing this thing? So the strike will be sorted. The issue is how long, and that lies squarely at the foot of the governor. Yeah.
So doctors are not in hospitals.
Pharmacists, dentists
are not in hospitals. Nurses, clinical officers. We're essentially saying that we're looking at graveyards around the county. Other counties have been absorbing the sick and those who are in need of medical attention for at least the last 3 months. It's not sustainable.
No, not at all. Yeah.
That's the situation that we look into. The hope is that not another minute. We're not talking about another week to make it 13. We're saying that not another minute needs to go by before something is done about this. Doctors work so hard that they're sick who need attention. There's a lot that needs to be done. It's our hope that this spurs conversations into action that needs to happen. And as difficult as it is to have this conversation, it's important that we do. And then kind of wait and see. A poke in the proverbial conscience of those who need to do something about it. And that's why we have these conversations. Thank you, Dr. Bill Morioki, for being here this morning.
Thank you too.
We're looking forward to an update, and hopefully a week will not pass before something is done. Good morning, and thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. The Situation Room takes a break until tomorrow morning. Have a good day. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. At least 3 suspected raiders were shot and killed in a clash with villagers at Kelmongorok area, Turkana County. Police said the incident happened on Monday evening and ran to Tuesday when a group of armed raiders struck in the area and with the aim of stealing livestock.